Is he? Is that right?
Okay, I think we should be live.
Are we live?
We should be.
All right.
I'm not really testing this, but the technology should work.
Well, we'll see, I guess. Hello, world. Welcome to Buck Life, the Hardcore Milwaukee Bucks fan podcast made by Hardcore Milwaukee Bucks fans for Hardcore Milwaukee Bucks fans. Sure, Darren. We got to teach somebody about production. Anyways, we are live.
We got
supposedly.
a rowdy crowd down here at Major Goulsby's.
I'm sure more to arrive. The man, the myth, the legend, Freeway is already in the house. We're going to try to
see him in the background there.
I don't think he knows it, but we are going to try to get an interview with him in a little bit. But we do thank you if you're joining us right now. We're actually live via Google Hangouts. We're live via Facebook Live. And, of course, you might be listening to this on iTunes. It would be the day following the draft, I assume.
Yeah, it'll probably be until Saturday till I get it up on iTunes. But we will get this on iTunes eventually. If you're watching on Facebook, not sure how the audio quality is. That's going through an iPad. The YouTube should have good quality. Feel free to comment if it's not good quality, and I'll fix it up right away. But we did a test run about half an hour ago to make sure everything was good. So any technical difficulties, just let us know, and we will address them. Other than Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, suck it up.
And that voice you heard, that's Chuck Schilling. I'm Jacob Anderson. We are the co-hosts of this shindig. And it's Christmas Day. It's draft day. This is to me, my favorite day of the year as a sports fan, this and the NFL draft. But I think even the NBA more so than the NFL, just because it seems to be a little bit more of a flurry of activity. And in the NBA, your entire face of your franchise, it can all change in one pick. So that's the beauty of it in my eyes.
Yeah, the NBA draft is the pinnacle of improving your team in the NBA. You know, yes, you'll get teams that can sign the free agents, and it happens now and then. But for the most part, these superstars that win championships are drafted by the teams where they win those championships. Even, LeBron left Miami. He just got Cleveland. He's there because he was drafted by them, and he's from there. So, this is the day we need to hit on something.
Sure.
I wish we were picking higher than 10, but that's water under the bridge at this point.
Well, and I was going to say, we're not lucky enough to be drafting in the top 3, top 5, but I don't know if you really could classify that as luck if you're bad enough to be in that position. So, but no, the Bucks do pick 10th tonight. Philadelphia owns the first pick. Second pick, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers. The third pick, the Boston Celtics, who I think are the big wild card in this draft. You could see the draft changing, on the turn of a dime based on what they do, either if they make that pick or if they end up trading that pick for who knows what. They've been linked to everybody, including the Bucks own Chris Middleton. I thought it was kind of strange. It was glossed over a little bit, but in one of Mark Stein's tweets, or was it Woj? Dan, who was it? Was that tweeting about Middleton for 3? Was that Woj?
Middleton for 3. I don't know that it was Woj.
Well, it was either Woj or Mark Stein.
We'll just leave it at that.
No,
it was someone more reputable.
Somebody reputable, somebody a reliable source.
Okay, so it was kind of glossed over, but they said that the Celtics had inquired about Jabari Parker too, and that they were rebuffed on both guys. But who knows? It could have been nothing. It could be a smokescreen for something that's going to happen. Hopefully, we get something exciting tonight, though. We do want to check in, though. Since our last show, we've had a little bit of activity with the Bucks, more so than just the draft. But first off, with the NBA Finals, and I'm a little bit sour grapes. I'm not going to lie. I, of course, am a bit of a Golden State honk, mostly for Steph Curry, just because I respect the hard work that he put in to become the best player in the NBA. The Cavs come back from 3-1. You got to hand it to them. They took care of business when they needed to, backs up against the wall, maybe with a little bit of help from officiating. Again, I don't think these referees necessarily wanted Cleveland to win, but there's nothing that can convince me that they didn't want the series to go 7 games. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe I am just a bitter, pissed off little bitch. I don't know.
Jake is definitely a LeBron hater. Sorry if I'm moving around a little bit. I'm just sharing the YouTube link on Facebook, getting people, want to make sure people have access to watch this. Jake is definitely a LeBron's hater, more than Cleveland. He hates LeBron.
You know what? I hate his fans because they're all very bandwagony. We talked about it earlier. They burn his jersey when he leaves Cleveland, and then he comes back and everything's all good again. So I don't dig his fans. I think They're the idiots that show up to the Bucks when they're playing like Utah or something in their stupid LeBron jersey. Good for you. Go fucking watch the Cavs.
Oh, we got Cap. My thing is when Brett Favre left the Packers, first going to the Jets and then going to Minnesota, I wanted nothing to do with him. I wanted more than anything to beat Brett Favre that first year.
I always loved my Brett.
I am well aware of your feelings of Brett Favre.
Love you,
that
Lozo.
said, when he came back and retired this year, I was all in. He's back in the Packers family as far as I'm concerned, and that's that. But I get it at the time.
That was your result.
Gotcha.
There you go. We're finding if someone found the tweet for us. Looks like it was this pro basketball draft Twitter. I don't know who that is. I don't know if they're reputable or not.
Well, let's bring in right now, since I was told he has a counterpoint. Nick Honick, you have a counterpoint for me. Welcome to the broadcast.
We've got a chair here for this, and you guys have heard Nick's wonderful voice before, but you have not had an opportunity to see the beauty that is Nick's beard, which now will be making its Buck Life debut.
I'm just saying, like, as a small town, sports fan from the Midwest, like, it's great to see Cleveland have this kind of success. And also, like, I just think LeBron is a transcendent player. It's fun to watch that. It's great that we get to see that in our lifetime. And, I wanted him to win. I feel like Golden State has become the bad guys at this point. So, to me, it was a blast. I was cheering for LeBron the whole way. I was cheering for the city of Cleveland. And I can't blame a fan for being pissed off and burning a jersey. And I can't blame a fan for accepting the most transcendent basketball player of our lifetime for coming back. Like, I don't
I'm somewhere in the middle between you two. I was okay with either team winning. I don't have a real reason to hate either team. I don't,
J.R. Smith?
Well, I mean, there are players on the team, but the teams as a whole.
Chuck wants the pipe.
There are the teams as a whole. The story of LeBron coming home, winning them a championship, that's a fantastic story. That you make movies.
Yawn.
You make movies out of scripts like that. Golden State, they're kind of, they're an exciting team to watch. So I was okay with either outcome. That said, I'm glad it went down the way it did because that's the stuff you make a movie out of. Hollywood wants that.
Hollywood sucks anyways. Well, okay, but to bring up your point about Golden State kind of becoming the villain, what I want to know is last year they were the little underdog and everybody loves Steph Curry and he was, kind of the darling of the NBA. What changed? I mean, is it just us as a society? We like to build people up and then tear them down because it's very much a part of life, especially celebrity lifestyle now.
No, I think that's part of it, but I also think, they play with a demonstrative style. I mean, reading that Joe LaCobe story where he's bragging about what he's built, seeing Draymond Green punching people in the nuts, seeing Steph Curry shooting threes and, turning around and running up court before, the ball even gets within the vicinity of the hoop. Like, these are things that, they had their success. They won a championship. People don't like to see that. I feel like I don't like to see that level of cockiness, that level of
but it was fine last year.
I want to see a new champ. My thing is, if it's not the Bucks, I want the Bucks to win 12 championships in a row. But if it's not the Bucks, I want someone new to win it. And that's just me personally.
Freeway says 90 of them, Chuck. You're overruled. Freeway says 90, not 12.
Oh, well, fine. 90 championships. No, that's fine.
I think one thing that's interesting is, I think it's really
a dynasty.
I think it's great that I do appreciate the fact that Golden State went for it. Like, they went for the win record. Like, respect for that. Like, they could have dialed it back. They could have had guys play less. No, they went for history, and they achieved history in the regular season, and they also achieved history in the NBA Finals when they were the first team to lose after being up 3-1. So, I don't know how much going for the record had to do with them not,
Well, they certainly started to break down. Andre Iguodala was hurt, not 100%, and he's kind of like been the guy to guard LeBron.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of success doing that. Andrew Bogut going down, a lot of people may poo-poo that, but he gave you 20 minutes a night of some of the best post defense you're going to get, shot blocking, rebounding. You lose something like that. Not to mention, Festus Ezeli did not play the way that he did during the regular season.
Sure.
He kind of crapped the bed. Harrison Barnes kind of crapped the bed. And, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the officiating, particularly in game 6
There we
when
go.
Steph Curry gets 14 touch fouls, whatever.
What
We're not
about
going to get
this?
too far into that because
What about-
we have a lot to cover.
What about him throwing his mouth guard and hitting a
Okay,
fan?
here's
I mean,
where I stand on that. At first, I was like, "Oh, that's wrong. Like, you shouldn't do that." But then I found out that the guy he hit was one of the Cavaliers' minority owner's son. So it was just some lame douchebag trust fund kid.
oh,
who
come
was,
on.
He was wearing a T-shirt over his dress shirt with a blazer. Like, sorry, you're a douche. You
It's
deserve
not
to
the
get it.
first time that's happened, and the precedent has been set at a $25,000 fine, which is what Curry got.
And this is why we have Grand Admiral Dan to confirm things like that. He knows it all.
Grand Admiral Dan is an expert on many random things. So yeah.
If you want to know any part of the collective bargaining agreement, Dan keeps it in the pants or the pockets of his cargo pants at all times on a little scroll.
Let me just say, that chase down block from LeBron. I'm sitting there on the couch.
Did you get wood?
I jumped up. That was amazing.
full wood.
He came out of nowhere and just tossed. Oh, that was amazing.
He was about to, and then LeBron cock-blocked him.
Anyways, so yeah, that was great.
Go Bucks.
Yeah, let's get back to the Bucks podcast here. Since we last checked in with you guys, we also had the groundbreaking ceremony for the new arena, which I was unable to make it down to, but I know a couple of the guys here were there, including Mr.
Dan.
Freeway behind me going nuts. Dan, you want to take the chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dan and I were there. I know we were there together. So that was, to me that my personal take on it. It was about what you would expect from this ceremony. All the owners got out, all the politicians got out. Everyone patted themselves on the back. Herb Cole got thanked 10 times for his $100 million. Someone at the end, I forget who it was, said 10 times, $10 million each thanks. It might have been Tom
That was
Barrett.
Mayor Barrett.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have been Tom Barrett. So, yeah, it was pretty much exactly what I thought. Then they threw a pile of dirt each with their silver shovel. And it was hot. I got a little sunburnt.
Yeah, I'm still sporting my sunburn. From
I
that.
I don't have any natural protection on the top of my head, for those if you didn't notice. So I was sunburnt. I'm mostly done peeling today. But, it was still exciting. There was a pretty good crowd turnout. I wasn't there last year for the jersey unveiling because I was out of town.
The jersey unveiling was significantly more people, but it's also
Okay.
it's a more exciting event, and it was in a better venue. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people knew that before they showed up, but Schlitz Park is just a more conducive venue to the block party, and I think that will be where the block party will be next year. Obviously, they had
Next year we're going to be under full construction there. Yeah.
Obviously, they had it there because it's the groundbreaking. But yeah, I'd say about a third of the actual ceremony was spent thanking Herb Cole. Like, everybody got up to thank him, and that is completely warranted considering the circumstances. So
Yeah, if someone gives you $100 million, you literally cannot thank them often enough. I mean, so yeah, he deserved what he got.
it was that, and for all his significant faults as an owner, he did keep the team here multiple times. Really, three times by my count.
Fair enough. Now, I got to ask, what was the general atmosphere as far as the fans that were there? I mean, because it kind of hit me driving here today, not being at the groundbreaking, but you see everything cordoned off now. You see where, the footprint is going to be, and it hit me that this is really happening, and it was exciting to see that. I mean, were people really, really excited here?
Yeah, the fans that were there were excited. Every statement got cheers. The only thing that got boos is Scott Walker got a few boos, but everyone else, their speeches got cheers. And even once Scott Walker started speaking, he got cheers. It was just his introduction that a few people were not the biggest fans of Scott Walker. So understandably, it's controversial, but. So the fans seemed excited, especially towards the end. They blew confetti. What Bucks event wouldn't be complete without confetti?
That's a Herb Cole staple. That was part of the deal when he sold the team. You have
one
to shoot
of
confetti.
one of my biggest regrets, and I suggested this at the start, is they should have had Street Life there to perform and then buried their instruments in the foundation of the new arena.
Yes,
Put to bed.
I laughed
put to bed Street
I
Life.
laughed very hard at that suggestion.
Unfortunately, I don't know where Street Life is. I know they are no longer with the Bucks, but I think it would have been very
We wish you the best, Street Life.
symbolic to bury that piano keyboard in the foundation.
I did run into a real GM user and original Squad 6 member, Fire Street Life Now, a.k.a. Steve Gill, and I relayed Chuck's joke, and he said that would have been a great idea.
Yeah,
great idea.
Steve Gill is probably the original street life hater. I mean, we all have our feelings of negativity towards them. Nick is saying he's the original street life hater.
Yes.
His name is Fire Street Life
I
Now
understand
on the
that,
forums.
but when I was in high school, we brought a whole bunch of friends to the game. Everybody held a letter, and it spelled out "Street Life Sucks." And we were sitting in the upper deck, and we held up the "Street Life Sucks" signs. And then after the game, we went down by Street Life. We were holding the Street Life Sucks sign, and a guy from Street Life came and argued with us. So
Okay.
I mean, I feel like that predated Steve's.
Maybe Nick gets the original street life hater.
I will say, comparing the two block parties, there was a lot of curiosity about the new arena and a lot of relief, just as much as excitement. I'd say for the jersey unveiling, there was a lot more excitement, especially because people were just more excited for the team as well. Like, it was a more exciting time. People had gotten back on the Bucks bandwagon. Giannis had played well. The Bucks had just been in the playoffs, and there's a lot of people that get excited about that around here. And we seemed like we were on the rise, and kind of came back down to earth a little bit. So,
well, there was some more Bucks news since the last show as well, and that's something I want to talk a little bit about. Is the Bucks has hired finally an assistant GM, Justin Zanuck. Is that how you pronounce it? I believe. There's varying reports of what his position really is. I think I forget who reported, but they said it was the GM in waiting, basically. So with John Hammond, I believe this is the last year of his contract, and not to this point receiving a contract extension. Yes. Maybe that means next year. But to me, this just confuses me a lot more than I already was. What is the structure of the Bucks front office right now? Is Kidd still making the calls? I don't know.
Nobody knows right now. I will say that Justin Zanuck was under contract with Utah as their assistant GM, and they only allowed him to speak with us because this was viewed as not a lateral move. This was viewed as a promotion for him because he was supposed to come here to be the GM in waiting. If he had just came here to be an assistant GM, which was his title already, that'd be a lateral move, and they wouldn't have allowed him to do that. So,
couple that with Jason.
Very strange.
Jason Kidd gets a 3-year contract extension in that kind of same time frame, and it's puzzling to me. I really, really wish I knew, because it makes me nervous for a night like tonight. When who's making this pick? Who has the final say? Are we going to have
picks, but trades potentially?
Trades.
Well. We have several second-round picks where
we've been linked in different names and trades, and if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, it's going to come out burnt. We kind of know last year that supposedly the Bucks were all set to draft Bobby Portis, the power forward center combo out of I think Arkansas is where he came out of.
Yes.
And Jason Kidd essentially overruled that pick and drafted Rashad Vaughn, who proceeded to have a not so great rookie season. What's going on? Who's making this pick tonight, Dan?
I don't know, but
Chuck, what do you think?
The Bucks did release a picture of their war room in the Cousins Center in St. Francis, which remains their home for basketball operations.
Looked a little tight in there.
Until the new facility is built. That's one of the things that they broke ground on the other day. It'll be in the Park East corridor, but for now it's still back over in St. Francis. And in that, you had Justin Zanuck, John Hammond, Dave Babcock, and Gillen McKinney, who are basically in charge of player personnel and scouting. Then you also had Jason Kidd. You had Wes Edens, one of the Bucks' principal owners. You had Rod Thorne, he's got a very big role with the Bucks as a consultant to the owners. And then you had our guy in there, Michael Clutterbuck, in the background, director of analytics. So hopefully they let him chime in. But I'd like Justin Zanuck to be the guy that makes the final decision. I don't care about hearing input from everybody. That's great. But I want it to be Justin Zanuck's call. I don't want it to be Jason Kidd's call. I don't want it to be John Hammond's call. I don't want it to be Wes Edens' call.
To kind of piggyback off of that, though, does it not make it hard if Zanuck knows that Kidd is Mark Lasry's guy, supposedly, Kid is really, really pushing for this guy. He wants someone else. Do you think he feels the pressure to maybe kind of be overridden and just go with what Kid wants because he knows in the long run that Kid is the ownership guy and that he could just be expendable?
That would be a natural tendency, and it's got to be awkward if Kid would disagree with Zanuck right in front of everybody, and Wes Edens is sitting there, and that Mark Lazary is going to be hearing about this, and is he just going to straight up overrule Kid if Kid decides to be insistent? Or is it supposed to be understood that if Kid suggests something more than once, then Zanuck better go along with it? We don't know, and that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Well, and just based on the Bucks' kind of recent draft history, I think when we see the pick, we may have a little bit more input as to who was making this selection. The Bucks have been linked to DeJounte Murray, is a point guard freshman from. You got from Chuck had some jalapenos earlier.
There's a menu stuck under my laptop. I didn't want to.
There's precedent. We can red card you for that. That just happened to a soccer player.
Which,
I saw that.
By the way, I don't know if I brought it up or not, but we're broadcasting live from Major Goulsby's. I don't think I brought that up during the intro. We're
I think I mentioned it. Yeah, okay. But yes, grateful for Major Goulsby's allowing this to do this. So stop on by if you're in the Milwaukee area. We do have a few fans and friends in the background. You've already heard from Nick and Dan, regulars on the podcast. We got a few other people in the area. So we'll be here on the air until at least sometime after the Bucks' first pick. Depending what happens, we'll just kind of wrap it up when things get run their course.
But as I was saying, DeJounte Murray is a guy that's been linked to the Bucks quite a bit. He's a 6'4", 6'5" point guard, questionable jump shot, very good handles, good defensive player. He's rail thin. I think they said he's like 6'4", 165. I mean, so he needs to develop his body, but he seems kind of like the Jason Kidd type player. It was basically came to light that Michael Carter-Williams is here because of Jason Kidd. That's the guy he wanted in that trade with Brandon Knight. And you read DeJounte's scouting report, and it reads a lot like a Michael Carter-Williams scouting report, just much younger at this point. So I think if he's the pick, and Chad Ford is the guy who keeps mocking DeJounte Murray to the Bucks at 10, maybe that's we have a little bit more insight as maybe Jason Kidd's still calling the shots.
Yeah, that would be. I saw that, and then I saw him switch it to Deontay Davis, and then now I've seen it again as Murray. So that would be unfortunate. I'm not a fan of that. I will say, just while Jim was talking there, they did have on ESPN's draft coverage. They did have a little. The bottom line was about the Bucks, and it was Bucks team needs, and of course they had to show that we had 89 wins in the last 3 seasons, which is the 6th fewest in the NBA. But that was great. But then maybe it's a sign. While they were still showing team needs, they cut to Dragon Bender. My guy. That's who I'd love to see the Bucks get somehow. I don't think he's
speaking my language.
10, but
no, we're gonna get into some of the prospects. I like where your head's at.
I think we gotta move pretty quick because we're about 8 minutes away from the first pick. We all thought the first pick was at 7 o'clock Central. Apparently, it's at 6:30. Of course, in 8 minutes, when ESPN doesn't put Philadelphia on the clock, maybe we will find out otherwise.
Well, they'll still be putting them on the clock. They'll still get their 5 minutes.
Oh, no. I'm saying if in 8 minutes they don't put them on the clock, then we might be waiting to stop. But there are a lot of mixed reports out there in terms of what time this actually starts. But I believe we are starting the draft at 6:30, which means the Bucks will probably pick around 7-ish, probably a little after 7.
Sounds good.
So let's talk prospects. We've got about 10 minutes till they're going to be making the first pick.
Sure. Well, it's pretty widely known right now that Ben Simmons is going to be the number 1 pick. It's already been reported. They've told him that. I think most people expected that. Number 2, has been pretty.
Simmons,
it's going to be Brandon Ingram.
Brandon Ingram.
So, but there was some thoughts that the Lakers might try to move that pick. I know today there was speculation on Jimmy Butler, who, since Derrick Rose has been traded, which we might talk about a little bit later, but is Chicago going into a full rebuild, or is this more are they building around Jimmy Butler and just kind of getting Derrick Rose out of the mix? But I could see that having some legs to it, just because the Lakers, I think, are a little bit desperate to get good and get good quickly. 2nd overall pick to Chicago, they can restart the whole rebuilding process around Brandon Ingram. It would make sense for both teams, I suppose. But if I'm the Lakers, I just stay pat and make that pick of Brandon Ingram.
I definitely would stick with that pick if I was the Lakers and go with Brandon Ingram. But we also don't know what they're doing with their other young players. D'Angelo Russell is rumored to possibly be on the way out. And then their only really other young player is they've got Jordan Clarkson, who's a free agent, and then they have, now the name is escaping me, the power forward from Kentucky.
Julius Randle.
Julius Randle, yeah. So I mean, they don't really have much as far as actual young talent. So
they did not get the number 2 pick by mistake last year.
Right.
I mean, they are in this position.
That's what I'm saying. If they trade the number 2 pick and they trade D'Angelo Russell, all they have left really is Julius Randle, and if they would re-sign Jordan Clarkson. So they could definitely change gears really quickly.
The third pick then is, as we talked a little bit about earlier, is the wild card of this whole draft. Boston has the third pick. They acquired it in the trade that sent Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to Brooklyn, neither of which are still playing for Brooklyn. And
one of the worst trades.
Will go down as one of the worst trades.
One of the best trades in NBA history. From New Jersey Nets, awful. Or
Brooklyn.
New York, Brooklyn Nets.
But
still New Jersey to me.
They own that third
really
pick.
It's a terrible trade.
Yes. And I think a lot of people kind of said that at the time because I think Garnett was 35 years old at the time and Paul Pierce was 34, and it just made very, very little sense. And I think a lot of people kind of foresaw the value of that pick going up as these guys started to break down. But so Boston has a third pick, and by many accounts, it appears they do not want to make that pick whatsoever. They've been dangling it in rumors for tons and tons of players. There was talk that they approached the Bucks about Jabari Parker and Chris Middleton and were rebuffed for that. But who knows? I mean, the story of this draft could change based on who is the pick at 3 and which team is making that pick. Coming into this draft, I pretty much thought that the consensus number 3 guy was Dragan Bender, the power forward, maybe center from Croatia, 18-year-old kid, 7'1", so tall. Lengthy.
I think his position will be center. He won't be able to defend centers his rookie year.
No, he's
got to bulk up quite a bit.
He's listed at about 215 pounds, so he definitely has to put on weight. But
and that's with all his clothes fresh out of the shower, fall in the lake, and they're all wet. I mean,
sure. And in today's landscape, the size at center position, as far as bulkiness, it doesn't seem to be as big of an issue as it has been. So I think if you let that kid naturally progress, he'll probably get to around 230, and I think that's okay at center in the NBA. But
as Jake was saying, Boston perhaps doesn't want to be that patient. So
right, they
were in the playoffs this year. They've got a decent core. I mean, they don't have a lot, but they've got a coach that can get the most out of everything. They're in a weird position.
They kind of
star power.
Yes.
Right. I think they were really banking on having the first or second pick, and I think they would have been a little bit more patient then because many people view Simmons and Ingram as more of the clear-cut blue chippers and maybe more of a sure thing. But there's a lot to like with Dragan Bender. He's my dream for the Bucks to trade up to grab him, and if he somehow fell, my God, I'd be sprinting to make that pick at the podium. But as we said, 7'1", he can handle the ball. He can block shots. He has a jump shot. He hasn't really shown much in Europe, but it's very different over there in how they assign playing time. It's odd. If you have more time accrued with the team, you get more playing time. It's just very strange.
Huge on seniority over there. I mean, they treat it more like a standard workplace than a basketball team.
Yeah.
But Dragan Bender, I think what the Bucks need right now is some defense, some shooting. And I think that they're going to be looking to retool the center position. We saw what happened with Greg Monroe this year. It turned out to not be a good fit, and I think most people expect him to be gone by the beginning of the season, if not maybe even tonight.
I may have stated in the fan squad group that if Dragan Bender somehow ended up on the Bucks, I would start spraying Miller High Life on people. The champagne of beers.
Okay.
Well, and
just watch out for the laptop, the microphone here. Yeah,
it'll be outside.
Spray it into the crowd.
Outside. I don't want to Gardner tweet. Yeah.
We have a Charles Gardner update from his Twitter account. Nick, go ahead.
MCW has worked out at the facility this summer, and Kid talked about it. Defense is where we hang our hat, and it starts with Michael. He's one of the leading defensive guards in the league. Having Michael out front leading the group, we have to get back to that.
Go ahead, Dan.
I have a question. How does it start with Michael if Michael doesn't start?
Valid point. These guys. I don't know. I don't look too much into that. I think you chalk up a guy no matter what if he's on your roster. It doesn't make sense.
Especially if you're trying to trade him or something. You don't trash the guy's value because either he's with the Bucks this year and you hope you get something out of him, or you're trading him and you don't want to hurt his value. So. There's no reason to trash talk your own guys while they're there.
Sure.
There's some commotion going on behind us. I'm not sure what's going on, but
this is the fun of draft day. We got people with the Twitter updates. They're watching the feeds. I'm trying to stay away just to kind of keep things on point here with the show. But
the Kings acquired the 22nd pick for Marco Bellinelli.
Marco Bellinelli for 22.
Okay. Is there any salary going out on that deal? Because there was speculation that Charlotte would give up that pick if a team would take on Jeremy Lamb.
That's what it was.
So more to come on that.
Probably.
That might be
there's no way this early in the trade we know the final details. That'll come in an hour or two. And I believe we're at 6:30 Central, so I believe maybe Philadelphia's on the clock now. We will probably find out shortly. ESPN has not announced anything yet, but we are potentially underway officially with the draft.
So back to Boston. A lot of people don't believe that Bender will be the pick. If they're going to make this pick, I think a guy like Buddy Hield makes a lot of sense. He's developed. He was a senior, had a great season this year shooting the ball. I mean, he's a guy that can fill it up. Not great on defense, but Boston is a defensive team right now, and they have great perimeter defense with Avery Bradley, Marcus Smart. So it would be a pick if they're forced to make this pick at 3. I think Hield's got to be the favorite. I did see. Okay, we have another Twitter update. It looks like Madison Eden's at the draft in a Bucks jacket. And I thank you for that.
That Bucks jacket is phenomenal.
Best Bucks jacket I've ever seen.
That is a nice Bucks jacket.
So,
Here,
I think if you go with a Buddy Hield, you can mask it a little bit more if you have your good perimeter defense. But
Screenshot.
I do think they are desperately trying to move this pick. The other guy that's been linked to Boston a lot is Jamal Murray, who's freshman, played for Kentucky. Kind of a similar player to Hield. He's a little bit more of a true point guard than Hield, who's more of like a combo guard, I think, at the next level. But there are, again, worries about him defensively. He's not a terrific athlete, but he is a guy that can fill it up, and he can certainly shoot it. So Boston at 3. Who knows what that pick's going to be? I've heard Marquise Chris has been linked to them. I think that they've been leaking a lot of different names just because, they're trying to get to pump up the value of that pick. So if there's a team that wants that guy, they're maybe going to call.
Here comes Sexy Silver to announce we are officially on the clock.
Adam Sexy Silver kicking off the draft.
Sexy Silver.
So go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say, let's pour a little out for Tobes.
Tobes, that's true. Shout out to Eric Wickman and one of our. He's a friend of ours. He's a friend of the show.
He might be watching right now.
He might be watching or listening, but
he's trying to. He just had a newborn baby girl.
What, about a month old? Not even
just
that.
Over a week old.
Oh, week. Oh, yeah, that's right. I've been so busy with work I can't keep track of time, but I did see it on Facebook. So
shout out to Emery Wickman.
Emery Wickman, 1 year old or 1 week old. Hopefully Eric's watching. But finish your eulogy here.
And yeah, he had the greatest cat known to man of all time, Toby. Rest in peace, brother. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, for anyone who Eric's hosted us for the draft several years. We've had the draft parties at his house. And at one point, Toby had his hair cut. He looked like a little lion. He was kind of shaved, had a mane, had
he was
a long
our mascot.
tail. Jake used him as, or was it Jake or Nick? Someone used him as Jake used him as his profile picture on Real GM. Toby will always have a special place in our hearts. So, moment of silence for Toby. And with that, Philadelphia is on the clock.
Philly is on the clock. Phoenix, the 4th pick, another team that's kind of a wild card. They have 2 lottery picks. Oh, sorry, the first pick is about to be made.
They'll be on the clock.
Oh, never mind.
I told you.
Yep, there we go. 5 minutes. So, looks like the first pick will be at about 6:40 Central Time, probably putting the Bucks in at about 7:15 or so, give or take. So,
These teams generally will take their full allotted time just to let any last-minute trade offers roll in. It's just smart. I mean, you don't need to go quickly. You get nothing for that. I mean, this isn't like a fantasy draft where people start to get on you like, come on, we got somewhere to be. You know?
But okay, so we Phillies back. We're talking Phoenix. They have the 4th and the 13th pick. They've been linked to Dragon Bender. They've been linked to Marquise Chris. I've also heard a lot of trade rumors today involving Eric Bledsoe, Brandon Knight. They appear to be a team that kind of is kind of stuck in no man's land a little bit because they do have a lot of good young talent. It's just a lot of it is at the same position. They have a lot of good young talent, but maybe not necessarily game-changing type talent. So
here at 20th anniversary of the 96 draft, there's Ray Allen.
There's my boy,
Jesus.
Ray Allen.
I'm rocking the Jesus Shuttlesworth jersey tonight. But so Phoenix at 4, Minnesota's at 5. I've heard a lot of trade rumors today involving Minnesota, including Ricky Rubio. The Bucks have been linked to him in the past. But one constant trend that I've noticed about this draft is it seems to be that a lot of teams are willing to move their picks. I saw a tweet, I think it was Chad Ford, that listed like of the top 20 teams that are trying to move the pick, and there was like 3 teams that were not
we
interested.
Were one of them.
The Bucks was one of them.
3 teams, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason for that is outside of the top 2, there's a lot of unknowns in this draft. You know, there's that second tier of players is just a lot of unknown, and even the Lakers trying to move number 2 because they might have a different game plan in mind for their future. So really, there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty once you get beyond the top 2 this year. So, and a lot of similar players who are probably going to have similar impacts at the next level.
And there's an amazing amount of impatience in the NBA among owners, general managers, and coaches. They just don't want to wait to do a proper rebuild. I mean, even
look at Milwaukee.
The process in Philadelphia, Sam Hinkie was absolutely derided and basically lost his job over it. And you know, he was trying to do the right thing. So
there we go. We got some new.
We have a Mark Stein tweet. Sources say Philadelphia is offering Nerlens Noel, the center, the number 24 pick and the number 26 pick in tonight's draft, and Robert Covington, a decent 3-point shooting wing, for the 3rd pick for Boston. I don't know. I've never been a big Nerlens Noel guy. I think he's kind of living off a reputation of being a great rim defending center, but he's actually been pretty underwhelming as far as being a shot blocker in the NBA to this point. Now, granted, a lot of that is probably due to playing the power forward position a lot, but 76ers are making their pick now, and it is Ben Simmons.
Officially, no surprise. You know what? The thing with that trade, to me, the most surprising thing there is why does Boston want more picks? Boston already has too many picks. They want to trade their pick. I mean, they are getting 3 players there, but they'd be getting
picks in this draft.
Yeah, they'd be getting 3 players plus 2 picks. Now, if they really like those players, I could see them moving those picks for something else, future picks, something else. But to me, giving Boston additional picks doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think it's a solid offer, and it's good value, but Boston isn't going to be the team that would need to receive that. They would need to get another team involved.
That's exactly my thoughts. You get a 3rd player involved, Boston gets something else to consolidate those assets, then maybe you're talking about a legit trade on the table.
That's what both Boston and Philadelphia want to accomplish in that trade. So you have to find another team that wants to act, that is just really like a dearth of talent and needs to just bring in as much as possible and will let go of 1-star player. I don't know who that is, though.
We have a Wolfle bomb. Gary tweeted a minute ago that rumors are Bucks interested in Thon Maker at 10, a monumental reach. Of course, Kid has a lifetime contract and has time on his side. You know, have you ever heard of a beat writer for a team that is more negative on the team that he covers?
No, not personally.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but dear God, man, have a Coke and a smile once in a while. And by the way, I've heard that the Bucks have been rumored to be interested in Thon Maker for a while. Is Gary kind of like, overseas? They'll get movies like 3 years later than we get it. So like
he's a couple days behind on this, and especially with the news that came out today that almost every team has moved Thon Maker out of their first round because they have information that he allegedly is actually 21 to 23 years old and not 19 years old. You know, he's not born in this country, so that's a concern sometimes in that situation.
Well, and you know, it's funny to me, a guy like Gary calling it a monumental reach before a pick has even happened, and I mean, with his, you know, crazy NBA knowledge, that he would know better than a general manager in the NBA of who's a reach.
I think it would be a monumental reach, but.
Yeah, you know, normally I would love a beat writer who is critical of the team. The problem is that it just goes full out negative.
Well, it just comes off as bitter.
Let's leave it at that. And now the Lakers are on the clock at number 2. So
no surprises here, I'm
3
sure.
3 minutes left. I'm assuming we're going to get what everyone is expecting, but maybe there'll be a trade. We'll see. So yeah, we're kind of in a situation where we're kind of waiting around right now.
And keep in mind, for people that don't usually watch the draft or just haven't in a while or forgot, that there will be trades that are announced much later than they actually happen.
Yeah.
So if there's a trade in the
15
draft,
picks from now, they'll announce the
I don't
trade.
know why they wait that long to announce it. It basically gets announced in the media, and especially in the social media age, it gets announced very definitively if there is an actual trade. Multiple reputable sources have it, so, but you don't find out about it watching the draft until, you know, like Chuck said, like 10, 15
It's really strange because the NFL, you'll announce those trades immediately. The NBA is exactly the opposite.
Makes it really awkward, too.
We will know. They'll bring a player up there. They'll put on his jersey, his hat, and then an hour later, they'll officially announce, oh, he's been traded to so-and-so. And that results in pictures like Dwight Howard in a Bucks jersey. Or not Dwight Howard, Dirk Nowitzki.
Jimmer Fredette.
You know, Jimmer Fredette. These things are weird. It's one thing about the NBA draft they should fix down the road.
Well, before the Lakers pick, let's talk a little bit about Simmons to Philadelphia. He's a small forward, power forward type, but you look at the skill set that he has, and he really is kind of like a Giannis. I mean, he's terrific at handling the ball. His court vision is as good as any point guard I've seen come out in a long, long time. The problem is he's just big. I mean, he's 6'10", he's 240. Does Philly go the Giannis route, play him at point on offense, and maybe on defense you have him guard the 3 or 4?
I think so.
And, you know, they kind of have a dearth of front court players, so who knows if they package some of these picks to try to get more backcourt help. But
that's what they're trying to do, and they'll continue to try that. I mean, I don't have much confidence in Brian Colangelo. I mean, he won the Executive of the Year when he was with the Phoenix Suns, and he briefly rebuilt Toronto into a mediocre bottom playoff seed team for a couple of years, but I don't know.
Okay, sorry, I got thrown off a little bit. They're breaking down the Sixers on ESPN. I see Jabari Parker's name on a list of traded players. I don't know what the hell that's about. I feel like we would know something if that's the case. So.
They're just going through possible trade
speculating
targets.
there.
Like, what can we do with all these big guys?
You know, they had the 24th and the 26th pick there, and they're showing the trades of Nerlens Noel. So maybe they're speculating that the Bucks would be the third team involved in that trade with Boston.
No, I think in that case they were. I think they were looking at mostly them trading some of their big guys, and perhaps the Bucks would go for that. I don't know. They're just trying to make sense of the Sixers roster, which does need some.
Here comes Sexy Silver to announce the Lakers. Not expecting a surprise. Brandon Ingram, no surprise whatsoever.
Now is when things get interesting.
Yes, now is so far it's exactly what we're expecting. Now Boston is on the clock.
There was a tweet that was sent out earlier. It was someone was being interviewed this morning inside. I'm not sure where they're holding the draft this year, but in the background they had the big video board, and it showed the Boston Celtics on the board with Buddy Hield as their pick. So there's speculation that if they make this pick, that maybe it was leaked in a similar way that Mutombo leaked that Philly was getting the first pick. Who knows?
I think they were just testing the graphics, but they probably should have picked a better graphic to test with.
They should have picked like someone currently on the team, or
Yeah.
tiny
And
gallon.
Larry Bird, Larry Bird with the 3rd pick. That way there's no ambiguity about what is going on. You do something like that, don't even mess around with something.
But again, I think of all the people that are in this draft that are available at this point, that's the pick that makes the most sense if Boston's forced to make this pick and put him on their roster. I mean, who do you think Boston's taking here, Dan?
Well, I don't know. They have a lot of guards already. They have Avery Bradley. They have Marcus Smart. They have Isaiah Thomas. Now, are any of them stars? No. Isaiah Thomas is close, I suppose, but you hope that Buddy Hield can be that star player. I don't know if he's quite that caliber. I don't think he is. For me, I'd still go with Dragon Bender here, even if they kept the pick. Figure it out. Still go with the 3 guards.
So you're going with the high upside then?
Yeah.
You got to go best player available. Plus, he's a better fit if he pans out. I agree with Dan. If it was me running Boston, it'd be Bender.
And by the way, you can still trade, even if you don't make a trade now, you can still draft the player and trade their draft rights later. It counts as 0 for salary cap trading purposes after you've drafted them, but before you've signed them. And we've seen it happen recently with Andrew Wiggins. He was drafted by Cleveland. He even played in Cleveland's summer league. It was a big thing. Cleveland against Milwaukee.
It was so awkward knowing the whole time that he wasn't going to be playing for the
But
Cavs.
yes, you can still trade a player after you draft him. It's not a problem. So I'd still take Dragon Bender if I was boss.
Chuck, you feel the same way?
I definitely feel the same way. So we will see what's going on. Boston's got about 3 minutes left on the clock here.
No trades to be reported at the
The
moment.
nice thing about watching us live is you will not get any spoilers because I know there's about a 15-second delay or so between what we say and what you hear. So if you're watching us live, you do not have to worry about any spoilers because the information is already going to be out there.
Nick, who's Boston taking here? Who would you take?
Who would you take? That's the bigger
Who would I
question.
take? Yeah.
Who would you take?
I think I'd take Bender here.
So we have 3 for Bender. You said you
I would take Bender. I just think they're going to take Buddy Hield here.
Okay. So we're all in agreement that they should take Bender.
If they do take Buddy, I feel like they need to move Smart or Avery Bradley.
It's a crowded backcourt.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that almost all the guys that they have are combo guard guys. I mean, Marcus Smart is technically a point guard, but I think he's more of a shooting guard, one that can't shoot, I suppose. Avery Bradley, again, he can guard point guards, guard shooting guards, but they do need a scorer, I think. So that's why I would say Hield, and they don't want to wait. Anything but Hield here is going to surprise me.
So no matter who they pick here, they have to make some kind of in the near future, especially if they're trying to win now.
Well, and apparently they're in heavy talks with Chicago for Jimmy Butler. So, I mean, if Chicago's moving into a rebuild mode here and they're willing to part with Butler, the Celtics might be drafting for the Bulls here.
Very well could be.
You never know at this point in the draft. Very shortly, we will be joined by Paul Henning of SaveOurBucks.com. He's in the building now, and we will push Dan to the side. I'll probably push him off the chair.
We'll Draymond Green him right in the nuts off the chair.
We'll give him the Ray Allen treatment. What would Dan do to Ray Allen? That's what I will do. And we'll get Paul in here, but I'll probably maybe wait till after the Boston pick. And I think once Milwaukee's on the clock, we'll have to get as many people over here as possible.
Yeah, we got to get some
real-time reaction and some hot takes. So let's see who Boston picks, and then I'd like to get Paul in here.
That's terrible.
There we go. We have a Chatford update from Paul Henning.
Yeah. Okay.
Thon Maker is the guy that Chatford is tweeting as his pick to the Bucks at 10. Dan, you love that pick as much as you love Ray Allen, don't you?
It's terrible. Like especially with the reports about the age discrepancy. I still like him a lot, but you don't need to take him at 10. You can trade back into the late first round. He might even still be there when we pick 36.
I would
take him at 10.
But I would rather take our pick at 10, and I'd rather look to move 36, 38, and something else to move back into the first round than trade back. And there's going to be nice players there at 10 that we can use.
I agree. I'm not talking about trading back. I'm talking about picking somebody else at 10. And trade. I guess I used the terminology trading back. I meant trading into the first round again.
But I think that's a good point. This draft, there's so much uncertainty. If you have your guy and you like him, you can't assume he's going to be there later because it takes one team. that you didn't know were interested. Right. So if that really is your guy, you can't say, well, we like him, but we know we can get him later. Yeah. In this particular draft, you have to take him.
That's a lot like the NFL draft. You see that all the time where your team, the Packers, Ted Thompson will seemingly reach for someone, but if that's your guy, you got to take him. I don't see any way that Thon Maker is that guy in this draft.
Well, it's interesting talking about Thon because 2 years ago, there were some clips that came out on YouTube of this Australian Sudanese kid just destroying people, crossing people over, shooting the three, dunking with authority. And this was referred to as the Thon Maker draft. Yeah. And people on Real GM were saying we should trade X, and Y to acquire picks in that draft just so we have a slight chance at Thon Maker. Over the last 2 years, he hasn't developed the way a lot of people thought he was. So it depends. If you still think he's anywhere near that prodigious kid that you saw in those YouTube clips that you thought was going to be the next guy, hey, maybe that's the right pick. Maybe that's the steal of the draft.
And I don't mind taking a home run swing. I mean, especially, if there's nobody there that you think is playing a position that, is going to be really helpful to our starting, take a home run swing. Let's do it.
At 10, you can afford to take a risk. You're in that almost middle of the first round.
To me, there are other players that you can take that risk on at 10, and we have enough assets to still get that. I mean, especially in this draft when everybody...
Dan's going to be sick, I think.
So many people are trying to move out of this draft and are interested in trading their picks, and there are so many picks available. I don't see any reason to take him at 10. I'm not advocating if you really want him to wait around for 36. That's a bad idea. Try to get like number 20.
But 25. Even so, that's my point though. You don't know. Someone could they could take him at 11. They could take him at 12. If he really is your guy, I don't think you can bank on that.
No, but I don't see you evaluating Thon Maker as that much better of a prospect than other potential home run picks that are available right there.
Well, who would you say is a home run pick other than Maker? I mean, we talked about
I'd say Skal
Labissiere. Sorry, Sexy Silver out for the Boston
State. Pick number 3.
This is huge.
Whoa! Okay.
Jaylen Brown. There's our first surprise of the draft.
Bit of a surprise, yeah. Coming into this draft, he was one of the big freshmen coming into the freshman class anyways. Had kind of an underwhelming year at Cal, but he's about 6'6", but he's beefy, good athlete. Needs to work on his handle, definitely needs to work on his jump shot, but he's a guy with a lot of natural, raw athletic abilities. So this is actually a patience pick by Boston if they are indeed making this pick and not giving it to someone else.
It's simultaneously a patience pick, and it also might indicate that they're looking at keeping the pick. Yeah. Jaylen Brown's a small forward.
He's a better fit than some of the guards that they could have potentially drafted here, for sure. So,
well, and I got to say, as a Bucs fan, I'm a little relieved because even though he was early this season, he was mocked as a consensus top 3 to 4 pick. He's a guy that I was afraid was going to be on the board, and I don't think he would have been a good fit with the Bucs. He's, as we said, pretty much a small forward, and he's too small. In college, he played a lot of power forward. Too small to play power forward in the NBA unless you're doing one of those death lineups like Golden State does. But he's someone that I could have seen dropping a 10 at the Bucs saying, hey, even though we're stacked, we have to take this guy. And he has the Cal connection to Jason Kidd, too. Yeah. I believe he said he calls Jason Kidd Uncle Kidd or something, or maybe that was Gary Payton. One of these prospects calls Jason Uncle Kidd, so I'm guessing that they're going to end up a Buck at some point.
Yeah, so, that's I agree. It's kind of a relief that he is off the board. One less player we have to worry about drafting. Just want to throw this out there for anyone watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post in the YouTube section. Those will go straight to my phone, and we will address you right online.
And we'd love to hear from you guys. We really would.
Yeah.
So next we have Phoenix on the board. Now I have one of my best friends lives out in the Phoenix area, and so he keeps track of kind of what's going on with the Suns, and he listens to their beat writers and kind of the radio chatter. And supposedly they have a lot of interest in Dragon Bender. So if Dragon is not the pick here, I mean, all bets are off. I say you got to go up and get him.
Well, everything I've heard is Chris right here, but I don't know if they were counting on both Bender and Heels being available. So
Hield would be an out of left field pick. You have Bledsoe, you have Booker,
Dunn
you
would
have
be the
Knight.
most out of left field pick.
Who?
If they picked
Chris Dunn.
that would be the most.
Let's just go
out of
all
left field.
point guards. You know,
Hey, Minnesota
Five
tried
point guard.
before,
Yeah,
except they didn't take Steph Curry. They took Rubio and Johnny
they
Flynn.
took Johnny Flynn off our hands for us.
Thank God for that. So yeah, this is 3 minutes left on the clock for Phoenix. Thankfully, they only got 5 minutes, so we don't have to sit here and talk for 15 minutes or 12, whatever the NFL.
Yeah, you guys don't want
is
that
now.
anyways.
No, you definitely do not want that. So
Let's get Nick Honick's opinion on the Jaylen Brown pick. What do you think? Are you a little bit shocked?
Yeah, I mean,
A freshman?
yeah, it's hard to not take Buddy there, but I mean, I think if they're keeping the pick with that roster, this is the way to go.
Well, they just showed a Danny Ainge tweet that he acknowledged that they were trying to make a deal and they just couldn't get it done, but they picked Brown because they think he can come in and play right away. So whether or not that's just coach speak or whatever you want to call it, we'll see. But I guess
to me, it's an it because if someone else wanted to trade for the pick, it feels to me like they're going to keep it because if someone else wanted to trade for it, I don't feel like he would be the pick. There was no urgency to draft Jaylen Brown at number 3.
he was a guy that had a huge range, anywhere from 3 to 12.
Exactly. So I feel like this is the guy who they wanted when they couldn't trade the pick. So, and certainly, like we said, it's not a guard, so it's going to be a better fit than any of the guards potentially would have been. So yeah, I guess we'll see. We got some tweets here.
Yeah, I am keeping track of Adrian Wojnarowski. I'm not going to spoil because a lot of times he'll leak the picks before they happen, but he does say Philadelphia is very seriously engaged on a trade for the 5th pick with Minnesota. So I had heard that they were trying to get back into the top 5. So perhaps they're going to go get a Jamal Murray, a Buddy Hield to kind of get a backcourt pick to mix in with all their front court players. I would think that that's who they would be interested in. Maybe if Sam Hinkie was still there, he'd go and get Dragon Bender to just go all centers, kind of like the anti-Timberwolves, I suppose. But it's starting to get exciting here. Again, I'm liking that Brown was the pick, and got about a minute left until Phoenix picks here. Again, Phoenix right now, they're guard heavy. Brandon Knight, a hero of the show here.
Yeah.
Not my favorite player in the world.
Both Boston and Phoenix were guard heavy, and the projected players in this range are largely guards. It's a strange draft for those teams because their needs and what is good don't line up very well. So, yeah, I'm surprised it's going to. The last couple picks have come in with about a minute and a half left. Phoenix has taken this all the way down to the wire. Hopefully, who we got it for? Minnesota?
At 5 is Minnesota, yeah.
So if Phoenix lets this clock expire, I hope they're ready to throw that pick in right away.
That's always fun. A little Minnesota would be like the opposite of their football team, jump in on someone else's pick.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, the only thing that would shock me here, again, as you said, is a guard. They've got Brandon Knight. They've got Devin Booker, who looks like a pretty good young player. A lot of people compared him to a Klay Thompson coming out. And then you have Eric Bledsoe, who's a good athlete, point guard, just has a lot of injury concerns. And there were rumors about them trying to move him today.
The pick is in. The clock ticked all the way down to 0, and then the pick was in instantly. So they milked all 5 minutes of that clock. Don't know if they were trying to trade it or coming down to a couple players. Who knows what was going on in their war room.
ESPN's talking to Jay Billis right now. I think he's trying to figure out what Duke player should go here.
White point guard from Duke, your boy.
All right, well, now I'm looking at Dragon Bender. He's smiling. I really hope he's not the pick here because he's my wet dream for the Bucks. I can't lie. Dragon Bender in a trade up, most likely. He's not going to drop the 10.
Yeah, that hair there. He's got a little 80s Russian hairstyle going on there.
Let's talk a little bit more about who are some of your more targets at the 10th pick. Besides Bender in a trade up, my number one guy for the last few months at least has been Wade Baldwin, point guard out of Vanderbilt. To me, if you talk about a guy that is the prototype of who you want playing the other guard position next to Giannis, this is the guy. 6'4" with a 6'11" wingspan, so he can guard 1s, 2s, and in some cases 3s. It's having that wingspan helps if you're switching on pick and rolls or out on the perimeter. He hit the over 40% in threes for his college career. He's just 19 years old. He's very, very competitive, and he doesn't have to be the primary ball handler. So he can play off the ball, but he's good enough as a point guard to run the offense when Giannis is out. We'll get back to that in a minute.
Yep,
Phoenix is about to pick.
Sexy Silver.
The Phoenix Suns select Dragan Bender.
There goes my wet dream. Dragan Bender to Phoenix.
Not
Smart
surprising.
pick.
That is a smart pick for Phoenix. I cannot, as much as that breaks my heart, I cannot fault them for making that pick.
So now at this point, I really want the Bucks to stand pat. I don't think there's anybody worth trading up for. I know a lot of people like Buddy Hield for the Bucks, but I just don't see him as a natural fit. He's not a great defensive player, and the Bucks need defense.
Absolutely need defense.
Well, now we're in an interesting spot. I mean, now we got Minnesota. It's a team that we're often mentioned with for like the best young core. Who do we want them to end up with here that we think is going to suck? Ellison?
I'm not a big fan of Jamal Murray. I know he had a good year at Kentucky.
Yeah, get Jamal off the board for us.
I mean, don't get me wrong, very good shooter, but not a natural point guard. He kind of masquerades as a point guard. I look at him, I compare him kind of unfavorably to Brandon Knight, just more of a tweener. Doesn't have great size to be a shooting guard. I mean, he's not small, but he's not going to wow you with his athleticism. And his ball handling is court vision is not great. So, but again, Minnesota, it's tough. You know, they have a lot of options here. Karl Anthony Towns can play the 4 or the 5. Wiggins can play the 2 or the 3. Levine can play the 1 or the 2. They have Ricky Rubio. So who knows where they're going with this pick. I saw a lot of Jaylen Brown with this pick in many mock drafts. He's obviously off the board. Maybe a Marquise Chris, who's kind of a combo forward that you can move him around with all those guys. So, I mean, Chris Dunn was supposedly a Tom Thibodeau favorite for the defense. He's point guard out of Providence, 6'4", very physical player, good athlete, not a great shooter, but it's kind of funny because he compares a lot to Rubio.
Off the camera there, Jake's
sorry.
leaning back and falling off the camera.
Yeah, you guys got to see my pretty face.
Yeah, we want to see that face. So, yeah, so you know, we keep we're talking about Bucks, but you know, I've still got a soft spot for Jakob Poeltl. You know, we've been talking about him all season. We've been talking about him all season on Buck Life, and I feel like it would be fitting if we ended up with him after talking about him for 6 months as one of our targeted players.
In the last draft too, the Bucks were all over this guy, and they supposedly were crushed that he went back to school. I don't know if he would have lasted to where they ended up picking Rashad Vaughn, but. Poeltl to me is a kind of a no-nonsense pick. It's not the sexiest pick, but he's a good defensive player who's probably going to be even better. He can be a guy that is kind of a garbage man on offense, and I don't think he's going to put up a stink about not being the guy. To me, he compares very favorably to Andrew Bogut.
Yeah, I love Poeltl. I love Baldwin as well. I think both those players would not only be good value at 10, they'd be great fits for what we've got going on. With Bender off the board, one nice thing is we do not have to worry about Dan showering us with Miller Lite.
That's true.
He
promised to do that unless there's a trade in the works. But Minnesota here, I guess I'll make my prediction. I'm going to go with Chris Dunn just because he's been linked so much to them, and Ricky Rubio's been in so many trade rumors. So I think eventually they move on from Rubio, and I see Dunn as being the pick. And he's another guy that if he even fell to 10, I would not be happy about the Bucks selecting. So let's get another one of these guys off the board.
Fingers crossed that Dunn goes off the board here.
Dan, who do you have?
I can get behind that logic.
I'm going to assume that Dunn goes off the board here as well.
We got 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. I think Dunn, or as I said, Marquise Chris is a guy that kind of rose up the draft boards in the last 2-3 weeks or so. He was kind of being projected as a mid-first.
He might go here. I mean, if you look at Minnesota's roster, they've got Rubio at point guard. They've got Wiggins at either shooting guard or small forward.
A lot of versatility.
Karl Anthony Towns at center.
Or power forward. He can play the stretch forward too. Yeah. He's athletic enough to do it. I mean, I think
they'd be making a mistake if they do that. I mean, they gain a lot by playing him at center, but you could slot Chris in next to him at power forward, or you could pick.
They could go Poeltl here if you want a true defensive guy. I mean, Towns can shoot all the way. Right now, he's got a good mid-range game, and they think he's going to be able to shoot threes.
me, I think with Wiggins' ability to play either shooting guard or small forward, that you can really draft a shooting guard or a small forward or power forward with if you're the Timberwolves. Ultimately, they should draft for best player available,
Right, and
not for need.
they're in a position where they can do that.
It does sound like
They're in no
Minnesota is
hurry.
keeping this pick. There was just a report from Chris Broussard saying that Philadelphia played hard for it, but they could not get a trade worked out. So it seems for now this pick is staying with Minnesota. So, and they've got 40 seconds left on the clock. ESPN went to a commercial. They're getting the Green Bay Packers treatment.
Well, now that I think about it more, I'm kind of hoping.
For our pick last year.
Of course they were. Now that I think about it more, I'm kind of hoping it is Marquise Chris here because I think Chris Dunn's floor for where he could fall would be to 8 to Sacramento Kings, who they don't know if they're keeping Rajon Rondo, and they may see him as being a Rondo-esque type player. But Marquise Chris, I guess, I predicted on Real Gym a couple days ago that one guy that will fall in the top 10 that's being mocked is Marquise Chris to 10, but I think the Bucks would pass on him. Maybe they wouldn't. I don't see him as a fit with the current team as is, but maybe they see him as a big upside player too.
Well, I mean, I don't think Chris was dropping past Phoenix if Boston had picked Bender, but that's not how it went down. So.
Yeah, he was linked as high as 3 in many cases. So 3, 4, 5, I think is where a lot of people expected him to go.
Yeah, this has been one of the more uncertain drafts in recent years, maybe ever.
And that's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting because unlike a lot of years, we just don't know, or we know what most of these picks are going to be until you get to 7 or 8. Usually you know the first 5, 6, 7 picks. And this year we only knew the top 2. After that, it's been kind of surprises.
Yeah, somewhat.
Bender's not that much of a surprise at 4, but 3 was a surprise, and we didn't know for sure that Bender joined. We knew that he was probably the best player left available.
I was talking about Wade Baldwin earlier. I mean, would you guys be down with that pick? Wade Baldwin at 10?
No.
Dan doesn't like the pick.
I'm okay with it. It wouldn't be my first choice. Depending who else is left on the board, I don't think it'd be my first. But I can see the logic behind him fitting with the Bucks and being decent value at 10.
I think he's a good combination of upside and fit. I see him as a little bit more of a true point guard version of Avery Bradley out in Boston, who a lot of people clamored for to play next to Giannis. And again, the kid's only 19. I believe his dad is like a CIA or works for the CIA or something, and his mom works for another branch of the government.
Well, then I take it back. Wade Baldwin is awesome.
All right, T-Wolves making their pick.
Okay.
Chris Dunn, there it is.
Okay, there it is. Chris Dunn is off the board.
Off the board, we have
We got
one.
some Bucks fans cheering in the background. One Nick Memel, member of the Bucks fan squad, whatever their Cream City Clash or whatever the hell they're called next year. I don't know if they're. I'm assuming they're staying with that same terrible name, but you never know.
Maybe we'll be Xanax Zanies next year.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know.
The Zaniacs.
No, we'll still be Cream City Clash.
So Chris Dunn goes to Minnesota. This is interesting to me. I mean, it almost has to mean that Ricky Rubio will be on the move at some point this offseason. These guys have a very similar scouting report. The limited shooters. I mean, Dunn is not a shooter by any stretch of the imagination. Probably more so than a Rubio. He's not quite the passer and the ball handler that Rubio is, but Dunn is a very, very good defender. It's argued that he's the best perimeter defender in this draft. I was just never sold on the guy as being a high upside kind of guy.
I agree. I feel he kind of is what he is, and I don't know that you're going to get it much more than that. This is a very random observation. These NBA players and Adam Silver need to step up their game with the handshakes. They are put to shame by the NFL players and all the secret handshakes they work out with the commissioner ahead of time. So just throwing that out there, step your game up, NBA players.
What's Buddy's path to follow the Bucks at this point?
Buddy's path to fall to the Bucks, I think, would be Jamal Murray going here to New Orleans. At 7, probably Marquise Chris to the Nuggets. Oh, man.
Wow.
That's tough. 8, maybe. I know the only player that the Sacramento Kings brought in for a personal workout was Wade Baldwin, not because they wanted to, but because agents were denying their players doing personal workouts with the Kings. So maybe Baldwin goes 8. 9, Jakob
Jakob
Pertl
Pertl,
or
yeah.
Deontay Davis or Scal to Toronto. So that's your case with Buddy to fall to 10.
Or Sabonis even.
Yeah, Sabonis has been linked to Toronto. So, I mean, I guess
Was it Sabonis was linked to Sacramento? No,
Both.
okay. Yeah,
I do think this pick is going to be Buddy Hield, just because I don't think New Orleans wants to wait around on a player. They want someone a little bit more experienced, ready to go now. It's crazy to say, what is Anthony Davis, 23, and he's entering his prime? Hell of a talent.
It feels like, and he's been in the NBA forever. He's been a ridiculous player, and he's only 23 years old.
It's funny to me. They should be a cautionary tale for a lot of rebuilding teams, because you're gifted this transcendent, once-in-a-generation player like Anthony Davis, and you surround him with utter garbage, and it was all win-now moves. They traded what was it, a fifth overall pick for Drew Holiday?
And another first-round pick for Drew Holiday from the Sixers.
Sure. They signed Tyreek Evans.
They wanted to win now. Big mistake. I mean, Cleveland did the same thing the first go-around with LeBron. Now, they're lucky they got him back.
Well, those are LeBron's moves, too, though. So let's not pretend LeBron's not the GM of that team, but I'm not bitter.
But they let him do that. And the problem is you should never worry about trying to keep your player that's on a rookie contract. You have built-in methods to be able to do that.
Case in point, Michael Jordan. Could you imagine if the Bulls would have let him just, make every personnel move that he wanted to make? He put up a huge stink when the Bulls traded Charles Oakley for Bill Cartwright, and that worked out great for them. They won their first three-peat. Bill Cartwright was a starting center.
Interesting tidbit on that front. I happened to be watching NBA The Jump earlier on ESPN.
The Jump?
The Jump, hosted by Rachel Nichols. And Tracy McGrady is the usual co-host. And he kind of blew the minds of Rachel Nichols and Ramona Shelburne. He let them know something that he just hasn't told anybody. When he was drafted, because they showed a clip of him being drafted. When he was drafted, Jerry Krause of the Bulls had worked out a trade, and he had informed Tracy McGrady that he was trading for Tracy McGrady. He was going to trade Scottie Pippen to Toronto.
Okay.
And that was going to go down, but then Jerry Krause checked with Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan said, no.
Oh.
But hey, good thing he did, because those were some historic Bulls, Pippen and Jordan teams after that for the second three-peat. So,
well, we got about 1:20 until the Pelicans make their pick. Real quick, since you brought up Tracy McGrady, I just want to say that guy's a tool. He was just talking shit about Steph Curry and the Warriors. He just comes off as bitter. I think he's upset that his career ended the way that it did, and I don't know. I see that from a lot of ex-NBA players. That Oscar Robertson, Charles Barkley, just haters in general. I think in their minds that Golden State didn't deserve to have the record for most wins or something. So I'm sure they took a little bit of personal satisfaction in Golden State not winning the title.
Dolphins popping some champagne every time the last undefeated team loses.
Sorry, I got a Chad Ford bomb here. The Wolves passed on the 5th overall pick and Levine. Why am I blanking on his first name? Zach Levine, thank you. Toolbox for Jimmy Butler. That was the offer that was on the table.
That's very interesting, especially since Tom Thibodeau is the new president, GM, and coach of Minnesota. And
I do, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I love Twitter because I see two spoilers that are back-to-back. Pelicans will take this player, Pelicans will take this player. That's just funny to me, like Twitter. Like it's
contradictory.
Yeah. You gotta love it.
Somebody's got a chance of being right,
One of them
sounds very Gary Wolf-esque.
In this day and age, it's all about being first, not being right.
By the way, I was thinking about this earlier. I absolutely hate I need to leak this pic on Twitter. We'll literally know within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Less. We don't need to leak the picks on Twitter. Now, if you want to leak I like that they put the trades on there. That's great. Yeah. We don't need to know the picks. And yet, for some reporters, they operate with this currency to get these picks, like Wojnarowski on Yahoo. Well, it's crazy.
The pick is in. Who do you guys have as the pick here? Like I said, I think they take Buddy Hield. I just think it makes too much sense for them wanting to win now. I don't know if it's the right pick, but I think
it's the right pick. But again, New Orleans is a team that has not done the right things over how many years. So I don't know what they'll actually do. That's what they should do.
I could see Pirtle as well.
Here we go. Here comes Sexy Silver.
The New Orleans Pelicans select Buddy Hield.
There you go.
There it is. Buddy
It
Hield.
is Buddy Hield indeed.
So not a huge surprise there. I don't think. I think we all kind of saw that coming for the most part.
He'll slide into the starting shooting guard position for New Orleans. You'll have Drew Holiday as the point guard as of now. Tyreek Evans kind of plays the 3, even though he's kind of a 1-2-3 swing player.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you like the pick for New Orleans? It's anything to stretch the floor can't be bad, but I think they might have been behooved to pick Pirtle here and get the great interior defense, and it allows Anthony Davis to play pretty much exclusively a stretch 4, which in my eyes is what he is.
I like Anthony Davis as a center, a stretch 5. I think that's a future of the NBA, that they have the luxury of having a player like Anthony Davis who can defend centers. I would absolutely play him at center, but you definitely need to find a second banana to Anthony Davis, and they haven't yet, and this could be their guy.
Yeah, I'm good with the pick. I don't know that Pirtle would be the best fit in New Orleans. I certainly would understand them picking him, but I think this is a better fit for them right away and long-term potentially.
Well, that brings us to Denver with the 7th pick. Again, that's another team that could go a few different directions. The only shocker to me would be a center. They kind of have too many centers as is right now. You've got Nikola Jokic and Jusuf Nurkic, who are, I think they got in the same draft. And
first round and second round.
Both are kind of big, bruising guys. Maybe this is a Marquise Chris. Yeah, I think they're trying to jettison Kenneth Faried, who's signed to pretty big money who's a guy who's very good, but at the same time a glorified role player, making a little bit more than he should be. I also could see Jamal Murray being a pick here. That they're going to need some shooting next to who's the young point guard they last year? He slipped.
He played in China.
I feel like an idiot right now.
I'm thinking about too many names of players right now.
He's very much like MCW, a very good defensive player, good athlete, but Emmanuel Mudiay. I think.
Thank God for Google.
A nice shooter next to him would be good. You can kind of play with the matchups a little bit. You have Mudiay guard the better of the 1 or the 2, 6'6" point guard. So I mean, those are my 2 guys I can see here, Murray or Chris, and those are Billis has as the 2 best available that are left. So again, the only thing that would shock me would be a center.
For me, this pick just makes me think of that the Bucks should be picking here right now at number 7.
Because one more loss would have they'd have the 7th pick,
so
right?
This pick is actually the Knicks draft slot originally. There's been a couple of trades that's how it ended up in Denver. But yes, the Knicks had 32 wins. We had 33. One more loss would have put us in a tie with the Knicks. It would have been 1 coin flip with the Knicks. So 1 more loss, 50-50 shot we get to draft here. 2 more losses, 100% chance we draft here. And it was going to be a lot tougher for me to swallow if Dragon Bender or Buddy Hield were still available. Still tough for me to swallow because it would have been easier to trade up 1 or 2 picks from this spot rather than 10, but I'm still annoyed.
Chad Ford just tweeted out that the Bulls and the Timberwolves are still talking about a trade that would be centered around Chris Dunn to Chicago, Jimmy Butler to Minnesota.
Okay, so it's not dead in the water yet.
I guess I could see it for both teams. Chicago obviously just jettisoned Derrick Rose. They're going to need a point guard. And if they're doing this rebuild thing, you're better off going all in rather than kind of half rebuilding, which we've seen the Bucks do many times over the years. Talking about Buddy Hield, I know he was kind of like a darling pick for a lot of Bucks fans, but I don't think he's going to be that impactful of a player in the NBA. What a lot of people forget is this is a guy that was a 22-year-old senior playing against a lot of kids, and not many people stay 4 years anymore, particularly blue chippers like him. So, yes, he's very talented, and yes, he had the great year, but keep in mind he's a senior, so he's not going to have maybe as much room for improvement.
I always caution people against that too.
Because doesn't it seem
an exception for Hield, but you got to look at what he was doing his freshman and sophomore year, and even his junior year. You know, it wasn't that impressive.
Doesn't it seem every year there's a senior that comes out that has a great year?
Doug McDermott,
Frank Kaminsky. I bought into the Kaminsky hype. I thought he would be a good stretch 4 or 5.
He still could be, but he's not. He's not going to be like a star.
Adam Morrison, who was,
that was the
I think he
name
was
I
a
was gonna
junior.
toss out. Yeah.
But
Jimmer Fredette.
Jimmer Fredette was a senior, yeah. And
That
people get excited.
27-year-old offensive lineman in the NFL
Sure.
that Philadelphia drafted. I don't remember his
People
name.
get very excited about these players that
Danny
put up
Watkins.
huge college stats, and one thing you have to remember is they're playing in a college system against college players, college age, and college talent level.
I'm physically your body between 17, 18 years old as a freshman and 22, sometimes even 23 or 24 if you redshirt a year. There's a lot of maturing in your body in that age range. A lot of muscle development, a lot of
it's easy for people to poo-poo like European prospects or overseas prospects. And to me, it should be the opposite because these guys, while they may not have the eye-popping numbers, but they're playing against grown men. They're playing against guys who are physically developed. So I'm not saying that, European is the way to go or that it's easier to gauge based on EuroLeagues versus college or trying to compare the two. But I just think because people don't have the eyes on these international players that they do on college players, they watch the tournament, they see Buddy Hield going nuts. That's where the fever comes from or the excitement level. So
yeah, the European guys are always hard. The stats are not there like you would see in the college kids. So anytime you draft a European guy, you kind of look and you're like, oh, they only played 12 minutes and they averaged 6 points, and the numbers are very underwhelming.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, it's not about what you're doing now. It's about what you can be or how you can project that player.
I usually I still do put a ton of weight on that, and it's kind of an exception to the rule for me to be that intrigued with somebody like Buddy Hield. But a big difference between someone like Doug McDermott and Buddy Hield, Doug McDermott was using his superior size to really get his shot off and do a lot of his production.
In a pretty bad conference, too.
I mean, Buddy Hield is a smaller player, not small for shooting guard, but he's not
big for a shooting guard. He's 6'4", average.
So the pick is in, and this is one of those picks that Denver got in the Carmelo Anthony trade a few years, 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. So
that's crazy.
Carmelo's still paying off dividends for Denver, and let's see what they do with it. Here we go.
Sexy silver.
The Denver Nuggets select Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray,
there you go.
Okay.
As we said, combo guard, can play him next to Emmanuel Mudiay, switch it up defensively.
2 more picks. What do you guys think?
Paul Henning is 2 picks ahead of us.
We're going to let him in here. Here comes Paul Henning of SaveOurBucks.com joining us.
What's happening?
How's it going, Paul?
How you doing?
Yeah, no,
Hey, how's it going?
It picks up good sound, so he should be good, I'd imagine.
It's going good so far. What do you think of the draft to this? I mean, have you been surprised by anything thus far?
I guess I was wondering where Bender was going to go. I really like him going to Phoenix. I think he's going to be a great fit in Phoenix. I didn't really know. I mean, the draft got surprising at 3 already. Jaylen Brown.
That was the wild card pick.
I think he's a good pick. I think he's a pretty good fit. But do you play him at the 3 or the 4? What do you do with Jay Crowder?
Sure.
I think Danny Ainge is definitely making at least one trade today. So
now that I think about it,
picks or whatever.
Right. He's got to make at least a couple trades.
They have to make a couple
8
trades.
total picks.
Yeah.
I think the big shocker with Jaylen Brown was that a lot of people probably assumed they were going to pick somebody a little bit older, a little bit more seasoned that can help them win now. But Danny Ainge did tweet out that they're going to play him right away, and they think that they can help him right now. So I don't think they wanted to make that pick by,
Oh, they tried to move that pick so much, but when they couldn't, I think they made a pick that fits for their team now and in the future. So I get it from the standpoint of they're stuck making that pick. Let's pick who we want.
So we have Sacramento on the board now, picking 8th.
Is Sabonis going to Sacramento?
There was a rumor that they made a promise to Sabonis. I could see him. Jakob Poeltl would make a lot of sense
Who's the
here.
comparison? Jamal Murray?
So yeah, they're comparing Jamal Murray to Michael Redd. I can see it.
Compared to Michael Redd.
Pre-ACL tear, obviously.
Well, I mean, and Murray's not a great athlete. I think they're pretty on par athletically, as Redd was.
I like Murray to the Nuggets. That's a good fit. I mean, they were talking about him top 3 all year. So
when you have a guard like Mudiay who can't really shoot the ball, you almost have to have that spacing next to him.
So what do they do with Gary Harris then? I mean, he's not going to be a long-term starter.
Sure. I mean, I think I actually really like his skill set. Again, yeah, there you go. Off the bench, I think he has a great skill set.
Talent on the board. board.
Sure, and they're kind of in a position, like we said, to take best player available. The only thing that would have shocked us was a center.
Traded,
Sure,
this summer.
Yeah, Gallinari, I think they want to move him. I think they want to move for Reed and just kind of complete the rebuild, which I think those are the two guys that they need to move to finally be done with it. But yeah, the 8th pick, I had heard that Sacramento, the only player that they got in for an individual workout was Wade Baldwin. Supposedly that was mostly because of agents denying their players to work out. Are they in that much of a mess?
As bad as the Bucks have been, we've never had that situation.
We're not the NBA's whipping boy anymore, so that's kind of nice to see that the crown has been passed to somebody else, and it's Sacramento.
And
I do feel bad for their fan base.
Sure,
they really got behind. They really got behind the whole arena out there and keeping them in, and they got the new ownership, kind of a lot like what's happening here, except front office is a complete mess.
Well, and maybe
someone fourth coach in 4 years.
Well, that's part of it. But I've heard bad things about this ownership group in Sacramento. What have they done?
They tried to oust Vivek Ranadi.
Okay.
His minority owners tried to take him out.
So he's been that bad.
He's been that bad. So we have to be thankful for our ownership situation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because we were in a very similar situation as Bucks fans.
But a lot of how we feel is going to be determined in the next 15 minutes and in the next week with free agency.
That's true. Well, Paul, you know the pick, I think, right? You said you were 2 picks ahead, or
no. I'm not on Twitter.
Okay.
I stopped after the 3rd pick. I got off Twitter after the 3rd pick, so I'm completely live. The last thing I saw was Chad Ford projecting that the Bucks were taking Thon Maker. And I don't know.
I know that would make you happy.
I would be.
We talked about that a little bit, and Jake was justifying it that a couple of years ago he was the player of this draft.
Right, this was his draft, and this was the Thon Maker draft.
I'll even plant the flag even deeper. If he's 21, I still don't even care. I think it's completely fine. The skill set that he brings, I cannot remember a guy that had this kind of hops, this kind of motor, this kind of skills that just completely busted out.
For me, Kevin Garnett comes to mind, body type wise. He looks.
I'm not expecting him to beat Kevin Garnett. If he just becomes a defensive player like Tyson Chandler, say, I think he's a home run pick.
Sure.
At 10, absolutely.
Yeah, I think he's a perfect fit for what this team needs.
Any player at 10 that you get 3 to 5 years of contributions, that's good, because at 10 it's a total crapshoot.
And big men are going to be making $12 to $15 million in the new NBA. You can't go out and sign a guy with this kind of upside. I think the Bucks can get by more trying to fill in with second-round picks at the guard situation.
Sure.
Because we just need a role player, and we were tied to Gary Payton too.
I did hear that.
Which I
have mixed feelings on that.
Yeah,
I'll take it over DeJounte Murray at 10. I'll take Gary Payton in the 2nd round, and then
Oh, DeJounte would be an absolute nightmare.
Yes.
So here's the
Here
second
comes
round
the
pick.
Marquise
Chris. Okay.
Kind of
the promise to Sabonis
one more
was
pick.
no.
There was no promise to Sabonis, I guess.
Yep.
No promise.
So here we are at 9. What do you think? I'm feeling Jakob Poeltl here.
You think Jakob? Okay.
Who do you think they would take?
Well,
Actually, Chris is going to be traded.
all right, Nick with the bomb
I don't
here.
want to hear anymore. I just hope Toronto doesn't snipe Thon Maker at this point.
Well, and
That's my only hope.
You got to make the 2nd round. We were going to talk to you about Save Our Bucks and everything. I don't know if you got to
I
get
think-
food. I can come
Yeah,
back.
no, we'll wait till after the Bucks
Come
pick.
back,
I'll
after
come
the
back
Bucks.
after the
Come back for the Bucks pick. We want to get a lot of live reaction for the Bucks.
Yeah,
pick.
absolutely. I'll come back after the pick.
Sounds good. Go eat your food.
So Toronto on the board now at 9. There's a lot of
So we gotta
speculation.
trade. Where's Marquise?
He's going to Phoenix
Phoenix for what?
I'd
for
have,
the 13th pick, and Bojan Bogdanovic.
okay.
Okay.
Shooting guard, small forward.
This is a
He's a
strange
bomber.
fit for Phoenix now to me. I mean, they are.
Well, he was linked to them at 4. So I
it's a
suppose
player they like, I guess, but still they have a lot of cards. It's,
long term, I think you have Alex Len as your center. Dragon Bender is going to be your 4. Marquise Chris will be your 3.
That's funny because, boy, that really worked out for Phoenix. They wanted Marquise Chris at 4, and they just got him with the 13th pick and Bojan Bogdanovic.
That is, yeah.
And they get Dragon Bender. See, that's what I want the Bucks to do. Like,
if they really like Marquise Chris, that is a phenomenal move for them.
very, or a lot of speculation that Chris would be the pick at 4. So that, again, yeah, that seems like a very
That
small
worked
amount of
out
value to get.
phenomenally for them. They had to take Bender. He was the best player available. And then they still managed to move back up and get their guy. So, yeah, that's got to be feeling good if you're a Phoenix fan. I think Andy was going to watch us live. He might be watching right now. If you got any,
he's not a Phoenix fan, but
he's not a Phoenix fan, but he lives in Phoenix. So if you're watching live, feel free to chime in here.
Now we're at 9.
Section or send a text to Jake. I know you got his number, but yeah.
Looking at 9, some people think the 9th pick here, they're going to be trying to look to replace Bismack Biyombo, who's probably going to get a big deal in free agency. If you ask me, if that's the case, the guy that makes the most sense to me is probably Deontay Davis from Michigan State, 6'10", 6'11"-ish. Similar skill set to Biyombo. I think he's a little bit more polished at the same age, although who knows what Biyombo's real age is. But I think he could be a Bismack Biyombo type shot blocker, rebounder. I think Biyombo's a little bit more of a natural shot blocker, but I do think Deontay Davis is probably going to have a little bit more of a mid-range game as a shooter. So Toronto, they're in a great position here. I mean, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you'd have to think they're going to be a contender again next year. So they can really take best player available and wait.
They've won their division 3 years in a row. They have, for the first time, had success in the playoffs because they've kind of been one of those teams that's made it to the playoffs here and there. They always go out in the first round, maybe the second round. This is their first time going to the finals.
Conference finals.
Conference finals. So, they're definitely a team that having a 9th pick when you just came off the conference finals, that's pretty good. I mean, it's similar to Boston. Boston made the playoffs and had the.
Did you mention why they have that pick?
No, how did
Bargnani to the Knicks?
That's
Andre Bargnani to the Knicks.
Okay.
The Knicks, they're the gift that keeps on giving. Amazing the crap players that they've given up for draft picks. So Toronto. I mean, like I said, I think the most sense if they're trying to replace Biyombo is Deontay Davis. It could be Jakob Poeltl here just because he's maybe consensus best player available. I do think his skill set is a little bit closer to Valanciunas than Deontay Davis is. So if you want to play those guys together again, I think Davis makes more sense. Thon Maker could be the guy here too. I mean, again, it takes one team.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So,
like I said, I have Davis. Who do you have here? Yeah, I know you said Poeltl earlier.
I know I said Poeltl, but you're making, your case for Davis makes a lot of sense.
Sabonis has been linked to them as well.
Yeah. I'd say definitely one of those 3. If you're going to make me pick one, I'll throw Sabonis out there just to go different than you because you went Davis. I don't want to go the same pick, so we'll keep it a little interesting. The most exciting thing to me, and I'm getting butterflies here. We're a minute and a half away from the Bucks being on the clock, so I'm getting a little giddy here.
Attaboy.
This is what we've been waiting for all night.
Nick, I know you're on social media, so I don't know. Should I ask? What do you think the Bucks pick is going to be?
Nope.
Or Toronto's pick is going to be? Nick wants it. Dan, do you?
I don't know.
Dan doesn't know.
Okay, we're not asking Nick. We're not asking Nick anything because he potentially knows what's about to go down. But
Milwaukee Buck legend Steve Novak was part of the deal where the Raptors getting this pick. My favorite part of the Steve Novak era was when he hit that 3.
Hugh Rich.
That 1-3.
Yeah, when he hit that 1-3 for us, that was great.
Your boy, Quinn Richardson. They listed. They listed Steve Novak for the groundbreaking block party. They listed him as one of the active players, active Bucks, along with Jabari Parker.
Max deal forthcoming for Steve Novak.
Under contract. Really?
Well, technically, the new league year doesn't begin until right.
Yes, but he's still.
Oh, Dan just got served. He got CBA served, y'all.
No, once they're done,
If you're on an ending contract, it doesn't count.
Well, you got to ruin my dream.
The pick is in from Toronto.
Who you got here, Dan, for Toronto? Is the beer setting in?
It's either Sabonis or Poeltl. It's either Sabonis, Poeltl, or Scal.
Okay.
Scalabisi. Let me see if I can narrow that down.
I said Deontay Davis.
Said Davis.
I think he's the most like Biyombo who they're trying to replace. So.
I think they should take Scal, but I hope they don't.
Okay, here we go. That was my That was what I first said.
There's people cheering here because they didn't want the Bucks to take him.
I'm a little heartbroken.
Bedlam at Major Goulsby.
I'm a little heartbroken just because my guy that I want is Baldwin, but I don't think the Bucks will take him.
I don't see that.
I thought maybe if he was on the board that they couldn't pass up on
The Toronto
Turtle.
Raptors fan shaking his head, giving a thumbs down.
See, but I don't get that. What's not to like for this pick if you're a Toronto fan? I mean, he's just a sophomore. It's not like he's
Just wait till they hear him talk.
right. He's got the Arnold voice. I mean, 7'1". He's huge. He's mobile.
They don't have to change their style of play too much from when Jonas Valanciunas is in as a starter. I mean, I think they're pretty much banking on not re-signing Bismack Biyombo. I think he's gone. Which I'd love the Bucks to sign him, by the way. 23 years old, supposedly.
Yeah.
Should we take the poll of Bucks fans now? All right, guys, who do we want?
They might know.
If you know, don't say it. I guess everybody knows. I don't know.
Now everyone just finds
I was going to ask Freeway, but he's on his phone, so I assume Freeway knows at this point.
Freeway was just ordering something. I heard he was arguing about needing the 2 gigabytes. So I'm not sure
2
what.
gigabytes.
To
2
GBs.
gigabytes. I don't
The
know.
2 gigabytes.
Well,
or something.
It's that time. The Bucks are on the clock. As I said, my guy is Baldwin here. My prediction is Deontay Davis. Any predictions, you guys? Who do you want? Who do you think it'll be?
I want Buddy Hield.
Nick wants Buddy Hield, the redraft.
Still on the board. I want Stahl.
Skal Labissiere for Dan is his guy. Who do you think they'll take?
I think it'll be Deontay Davis.
Two for Deontay Davis. So who they think?
I think it'll be
That's
Davis.
number 2 on my board, by the way, of the people that are available.
Sure. Nick, you want Buddy Hield, or are you just heartbroken? You don't have any more opinions?
I've always, I feel like Davis. Like I like Davis. I think that's a good pick.
It's a solid pick.
Yeah, I don't mind swinging for the home run. Also, so
Davis did get the Herb Cole treatment too, though. We took him to dinner.
I like Denzel Valentine. I like the idea of Michigan State guys. And I feel like Valentine's going to be a good player. I've kind of always would have liked to have seen him as a Buck. So
Thon Maker. Maybe that's a bit. There was who was it? Chad Ford said that.
That's who he has in his last mock. So I know Paul Hennig, who he stepped away to eat his burger, I think, but I know he would be thrilled with that.
We'll probably
pick.
see some reaction from him if that's the pick. If I had to guess, I'd go with Davis as well. That I think that's who they will pick, but Hammond has not been afraid to swing for the fences before with his picks. So
if this is a Hammond pick, I'll make this clear. I don't think Hammond is making this pick, but if John Hammond is making this pick,
Thon Maker is the pick. I think it's John Hammond.
I think it'll be Thon Maker or Skal Labissiere.
Yes.
Those are the 2 high upside guys at center. We need a center. I'm really hoping for Wade Baldwin, though. I mean,
I don't see any way. I think they could trade back up for him. If they traded
well,
some assets.
supposedly Chicago has promised Baldwin at 14.
Okay.
So you'd have to get up pretty high.
You'd have to get up pretty high. Yeah, I don't know that we have the assets to move that high again.
Yeah, after the Bucks pick, you have the Magic at 11, the Jazz at 12, the Suns back at 13, which that pick is allegedly part of the trade before the Bulls pick at 14. But Wade Baldwin makes
on the clock. We're on a commercial. Shocking.
If I'm the Bulls, and again, this is just me, but I'm not trading Jimmy Butler for Chris Dunn if I can get Wade Baldwin at 14. I think Wade Baldwin ends up a better player, and he's a modern NBA player more so than Chris Dunn.
I just heard who the Bucks pick was.
Dan heard who the Bucks pick was. He doesn't look excited.
My best poker face here.
Best poker. I can't tell if it's poker or disappointment, so we will just wait.
Dan looks like Lady Gaga right now.
This is a really long 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I need
the
this
longest
timer.
5 minutes of my life.
I need this timer to go quickly because the Freeway keeps faking me out. It looks like he's going to leave, and I need his reaction after the pick.
Yeah, maybe Nick, can you slide to the side a little bit so we can see Freeway's reaction?
The way.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
Freeway
see the way.
is right behind Freeway. There we go.
The way.
We got him in the background, so you're going to get all our reactions live,
including the
real time.
Freeps.
I hope.
No, he's on the phone, so I don't know how much of a reaction we're going to get.
Right at the screen. So, okay, since we talk about who we want, who do you absolutely not want? I think it's consensus DeJounte Murray is the guy that's been linked to us that we don't want.
Absolutely.
But is there anybody else that you absolutely do not want? I do not want Valentine at this pick. I know you like him. I don't think he's going to be able to defend in the NBA. And to me, the Bucks need so much help defensively. And again, I don't see him being a long-term starter. I mean, I know it's asking a lot in a perceived weak draft to get a starter at 10, but I have high hopes here. So.
I'd rather swing for the fences here. So at this point, Skull or Thon is who I want. That's at least
big man that can stroke it.
Yeah, let's go big. Go big or go home.
Chuck's all about the size. 30 seconds left now. They are coming back from commercial, so that was nice.
I just want to say, being at a bar, go big or go home, not always a good idea.
Just ask for
At the end of the night, you know.
Yeah, we could just go put all of our phones away and right.
All right, so
we're gonna throw
10
our
seconds
phones in the
left.
hat?
I like that they're showing the Bucks in their
party?
hideous Christmas jerseys, even though they've been in the new ones for a year.
Hey, at least they have the new logo.
Okay, here we go. The pick is in.
Get it, Grant.
This is what we have been waiting for. We've been on the air for over an hour.
OJ Mayo making an appearance.
Rick Monroe elevating over Perkins, possibly the only center in the NBA that
We need a live freeway.
Okay.
It's a quiet fervor here at Major Goulsby.
We're all kind of anxiously waiting this.
That's a lot of dead air time. Sorry, I got caught up in it.
No, you'll have to deal with the dead air time. We are waiting for this pick. And honestly, by the time you see our reaction, you're going to have already seen it. So
Nick just Nakamura'd us. They're talking about Thon Maker on the broadcast, so we'll let you believe what you want. This is taking quite a while, though. We'll see what happens.
Here we go.
Here
Adam
comes
Silver's
Sexy.
coming.
Sexy Silver.
Sexy Silv. God, is he creepy looking.
I'm pretty sure he's an alien.
This is it.
Freeway.
Here we go.
Mixed reaction.
Henning is ecstatic. Some boos, some cheers.
I didn't know how I would react if he was the pick, but my immediate reaction was a smile. I like the upside. I love the swing for the fences.
Home run. Let's go for it.
I said go big or go home. I am okay with this pick. We're going to get Paul Hennig over here soon because this was his guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's over there grinning like a fucking idiot.
He looks like he just won the championship.
He's coming over. He's coming over.
I like it. I like it, Paul.
Paul is happy. So we were talking leading up to this pick that if it was Thon or Skull, we figured that this was a John Hammond pick and not a Jason Kidd.
Or maybe a Justin Zanuck pick.
Maybe, yeah. John Hammond has shown he's not afraid to swing for the fences. This is definitely a swing for the fences.
This is incredible. I think this is one of the gutsiest, ballsiest picks.
I can tell Paul's having trouble finding words right now. He's a happy man.
It actually happened.
I
I completely talked myself out of it today because I thought Deonta was the guy.
I did too.
I thought I was.
We all kind of had a consensus that we thought Davis would be the pick.
Completely out of my element because the only two guys that we know they would took to dinner were Deonta and Thon. So this is the guy I wanted. I think this is incredible. I think this is amazing.
If he pans out, this is a huge home run swing.
Giannis, Jabari, and Thon, he's 7-1 right now.
Yeah.
And even if he's 21, I think it's still a great pick.
23.
Well, and you talked about it. I heard you on the radio earlier.
He's a buck right now. If he's 23, I don't care. I think he's going to be a great
Paul
pick.
was on the radio earlier with Bill Johnson, and he talked about how, that it would be strange for him to be older than he's listed, considering he was documented as coming into Australia at the age of 5. So would the parents lie about his age to put him in kindergarten when he's really, 3 or whatever? It just seems
they were
a weird age.
escaping a war-torn, civil war country of Sudan. Do you think his parents were really thinking about this 5-year-old or 7-year-old
being an NBA player,
future NBA career
Yeah,
to lie about his
absolutely
age? I think that's insane.
It would be
I
odd.
doubt that. I'm not sure when they're saying his age was changed, if it was.
The only thing I could see happening would maybe if there's just confusion.
If he got,
He was not in the green room, by the way. They just said.
if he showed up to Australia,
They showed him out
let's
there in
listen
the
to the
crowd.
interview 1 second.
Where was he? If he was.
They said he was out in the stands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a Giannis move. Let's hope it works out the same. Giannis was the guy that showed up.
It's basically on the team personnel, like how they want to use me.
Sorry, we're listening to the Thon Maker interview at the moment.
Yeah.
But if I recall correctly, I think Giannis, he had like, it wasn't even like floor seats. Like he was in the crowd.
Yeah.
Literally.
Congratulations.
But it is funny. To me, there's always, every year at the draft, there's like a guy that the commissioner announces the name, like mispronounces the name, and then like some giant European guy comes out of the crowd, and the commissioner probably has no clue if this is even the guy.
The marketing potential, Dunkathon, Dunk Maker, the Dream Maker. I love it all.
Paul's trying to swing this into a job in marketing with the
Yeah.
Bucks.
I love it all. I love it all.
No, like I said, we talked about it after the pick. I wasn't sure how I would react if Thon was the pick, but a smile came to my face.
I got to jump on Twitter for a few minutes.
You know,
I can't even
Sure,
talk right
no,
now. I
Paul,
can't even think.
do what you
Come
got to
back,
do.
we'll come
Collect
back.
yourself.
We want to talk Save Our Bucks a little later, so come back.
Yes, collect
We'll
yourself.
talk Thon Maker here, you know.
If you need to take a few minutes to do whatever you need to do with yourself, hey,
So when
judgment.
did you find out about this picnic? At what points?
Maybe about 10 minutes ago.
And what was your gut feeling when you heard it?
You know what? Honestly, like
You were
there's-
booing, were you not?
No, I was.
Oh, that
He
wasn't
was
you.
cheering.
There's no one that at that pick that I feel like, oh damn, we didn't pick that guy. You know, I love the home run potential of this pick. Like I just do. Like, you know, this is when you could have passed on this guy. Maybe you could have got him later. You don't know. We talked about that earlier tonight. And like now you got him. You've got this incredibly. Your lineup just got much longer.
We were already a very long
I feel
lineup.
like this is the Bucks saying the Giannis at point guard thing wasn't like just something we were trying. This is it. Because if this guy, the 10th pick, is going to be a starter in the next couple of seasons, you with Jabari and Giannis, he doesn't have a spot unless Giannis is the point guard.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I love the idea that we feel like we've got these young assets now, and now it's time to, like, roll the dice, take a gamble. I mean, we might regret this, but of course, one of these guys that's going to go from 11 to 16 or 17 is going to turn into the guy from Oklahoma City. Who am I thinking of? Ibaka. You know, we Draymond Green. We always see those guys in this area, but like I love the home run potential of this pick. Giannis, right.
Well, I got
you don't even have to go outside the box.
few reactions here. Friend of the show, Andy Robbie, out in Arizona, says he's earmuffs kids, fucking stoked. And then Chad Steger, another friend of the show, real GM poster, Steger34, I think his name. Fuck this pick and fuck Hammond. So mixed reaction to say the least.
Mixed
But that's
reaction
generally when you have
out
a boom bust pick, you're going to get that kind of thing.
Absolutely. This is a pick that could fall flat on its face, but it could also, we could look back at this a couple years from now and say he was the steal of the draft. Kind of, we look at Giannis that way. Giannis was the steal of the draft.
I think we absolutely could look at it that way, and I'm very high on Thon Maker. I felt strategically we could have taken another home run pick here and traded to get another late first round pick. We had enough assets to do it. Now, here's a way that would alleviate that for me, would be if we still trade back in the first round and take one of these other guys.
I have to interrupt. Nick Honick, sitting to my left, just showed me a tweet that is a little bit troubling. Nick, do you want to explain this?
So somebody posted on Reddit a yearbook photo of Thon, and it says, "Surprised this has taken so long to come out. Sabonis just got picked by the Magic."
She talks about Sabonis in the tweet?
No,
I know.
I live in the same city in Australia that Maker migrated to, Perth, and one of my friends showed me his older sister's graduation book, which Maker is pictured in, and she graduated in 2010, 2011. making her 22, 23 this year, will add photo now and shared a photo. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, and that's the thing I don't like about this pick is we've been through this before with players where it's like, how old are they really? We've been through it with Ursan. We went through it with E, and it's like, yeah, that's troubling, but
for now he's the Buck. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know, that's.
I'm not gonna lie, that does make my penis a little bit soft.
That could be something we are talking about 2 years from now when he's not really contributing all that much. We'll see what happens. So Sabonis goes 11 to Orlando, and now
Odd pick to me.
we've got Utah on the clock.
Sabonis is a guy kind of hard to place for me. He's not a defensive player. He's the son of Arvydas Sabonis, NBA center, but really he made his name in Europe. But a guy that's, you know, he doesn't stretch the floor out to three. He's kind of a mid-range guy. I heard some people compare him to Zaza Pachulia, which prime Zaza was a good player. You know, a spot starter, very, very good backup. So, you know, okay, Orlando likes him. Not a huge upside in my eyes. I know real GM moderator Paul Pressey, he was a big Sabonis guy. But, okay, so I don't know where he projects. I don't know if they really think he's going to be a starter. You already have Nikola Vucevic as your starting center. There was speculation that Orlando might go after Dwight again to try to
Mark Stein reporting that it looks like Jimmy Butler is up. They're both sides are optimistic that he's going to end up in Minnesota before the end of the night.
Okay, that's huge.
The Bulls are in a full rebuild.
Bucks say they are keeping Thon Maker at 10, according to Andy Katz.
Okay, Bucks are keeping Thon Maker. I don't think they would have made that pick if they were trading him.
Okay, wait.
Sabonis.
Serge Ibaka supposedly has been traded to the Magic.
Okay.
So I would think that would mean that Sabonis might be a member of the Thunder then. If that's the case.
I doubt it, but you never know. I mean, they have Aaron Gordon at power forward, and and if they just acquired Serge Ibaka,
I think maybe they'll play Ibaka at the.
They place the bonus. They place the bonus at center.
One thing I will say about Thon.
Orlando will send Ilyasova and Sabonis to the Thunder.
Oladipo, Ilyasova, and Sabonis to the Thunder for Ibaka and
Ibaka.
Okay.
Just Ibaka.
That is interesting trade.
That is an interesting trade, especially in advance of Kevin Durant's free agency. He would one of the thoughts was, especially I agreed with this thought, was that Durant would sign a 1+1 deal, like a 2-year deal with the one player option for a second year, to line himself up with Russell Westbrook and Serge Ibaka's free agency next offseason. Now Ibaka's gone.
Well, it's got to be partially a cap clearing move. Then Oladipo's still on his rookie scale contract, though he's going to be due an extension. And Ursan makes far less than Ibaka.
Now here's the reason that you can do this with Ursan. Because you normally cannot trade a player at this point. We're still in the previous season. You cannot trade a player whose contract is ending. They're going to be a straight-up free agent, or if they have a team option. Ursan, we signed him to the deal he's on. The Bucks did. His salary for next year is $400,000 guaranteed. So what would happen if they want to create cap space, like Jake said, they'll just waive Ursan. They'll pay him $400K, and then they will clear up that cap space. So
all right, we got another Woj bomb.
They might be
Jimmy Butler, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, and a second-round pick. We knew that this was likely coming tonight, but apparently it is now going to be official.
I really don't like that for Minnesota at all. I don't know. Jimmy Butler doesn't really match up with Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns, but it appears they're going for it. They want to get a little bit more, or actually maybe make a playoff run here. I'm not a huge Chris Dunn fan, but the value, I think, of a top 5 overall pick, it's kind of strange moves being made right now. It is exciting. I mean, this is what the NBA draft's all about.
Ibaka just went to the
Yes,
Magic.
Ibaka, Oladipo, and Sabonis for.
We might have to verify that Minnesota one.
Jimmy Butler trade was from a fake Woj account.
All right.
Okay, never mind. The Jimmy Butler trade is not happening. Fake Woj. People fall for it every year.
Everyone's got their phones out here. It's kind of chaos right now at Goulsby's. So
Their Wi-Fi is being severely taxed right now.
the Wi-Fi is slow. Good thing we're running on my own hotspot here, so we are not relying on the Wi-Fi. So hopefully those of you watching us, we've had a steady stream here. No one has complained. So I'm assuming the audio quality and video quality have been good all night because we have not heard a peep from you guys.
Utah's pick is in. Interesting. There's been speculation that Gordon Hayward could be on the move. I believe he's in the last year of his contract, so he could walk. There was talk that he might get traded to the Celtics for that third pick.
Boy, we got to touch on Gordon Hayward here. He was a player none of us wanted on the Bucks when he went in that draft. We were
He was
afraid
the DeJounte Murray of that year.
Yeah, and we were all wrong. That's so. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Utah does here.
They need point guard help. Dante Exum's coming off an ACL injury, so you don't know what he's going to bring to the table this year. Trey Burke has been somewhat of a disappointment.
I don't think Trey Burke. I don't think they're factoring in Trey Burke with what their pick is here. Trey Burke is just there. I think they do view Dante Exum as part of their future, but they for whatever reason are really determined to make the playoffs this year. I think that's a rush, but.
Well, and I did forget they did acquire George Hill.
I forgot about that.
So this pick is actually Atlanta. So I don't know why they didn't update that as I'm looking at the ticker on ESPN. So, okay, Atlanta's
apparently
made their
it's still
pick.
a proposed trade in this.
Well,
stage.
it's gonna happen.
It's done. They just didn't get it in. They didn't get it in by the deadline, so that this pick would actually be listed as.
These rules are so dumb.
It's one of the more
this
ridiculous
is
things.
Atlanta's pick,
There we
Sexy
go,
Silver.
Atlanta.
The 2016 NBA Draft, the Utah Jazz, Torian Prince.
Whoa, Torian Prince. That is a
Torian
reach.
Prince. There is
He's a
probably
wing
the
player.
biggest shock to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I had him somewhere in the 20s. I mean, he's a 3-4 combination guy. He's kind of a garbage man, master or what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this pick. I mean,
I could right now, the way my brain works, I could care less about Torian Prince for Atlanta right now. What I'm thinking is the 5 players, my top 5 players that I wanted the Bucks to pick at 10, are all still available. We need to, not John Hammond, because I don't know if he knows how to make a phone call. He can pick it up, but Justin Zanuck is in the war room. He needs to be working the phones right now and getting us.
Let's go get Wade Baldwin.
Getting us one of these picks.
Well,
Skal is still there. Deontay Davis.
Wade Baldwin.
Luau, Workmass, Ellenson. They're all still there. Those are my 5. They're all still there. And Baldwin, Jake likes.
Yeah, there's definitely some.
If they could walk away with Baldwin somehow, some way, I would be like Paul was during the Thonmaker pick. I'd be very, very excited to get him.
That was a little tidbit from Woj, is that Thonmaker apparently was indeed a John Hammond pick, which we speculated before the pick was made that if it was Thonmaker, it was John Hammond making the pick. And maybe after last year with the situation not working out, they let John Hammond make the pick this year.
But why does John Hammond make that pick and not Justin Zanuck?
Well, maybe it was Justin Zanuck. I don't know.
Yeah. The real question is, where did Freeway go?
Yeah, I needed the Freeway reaction.
With AT&T, he was working on getting his 2 gigabytes of data.
He must have ran out of data. I could see that during the NBA draft.
Hey, he's Freeway. He's not free data.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. Let's talk about Thonmaker a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we can talk about him and then probably wrap.
He's 22. I don't know, guys.
Jake
I'm convinced he's 22 now. Like that tweet that Nick showed me that. Okay, I know Paul's not. That doesn't bother him at all. But okay, if he's really 22, he's been playing against high school kids for a while. I'm reminded of E, and I bought into the E hype. I remember hearing the offers that the Bucks were offered 3 first-round picks for E, and we turned it down.
You were.
And I was like, that's good. You know, we're going to get this Chinese superstar. We're going to
Next
be
Yao
big
Ming.
all over the world.
Yeah.
And obviously that blew up in our face. So I don't know. I'm not as happy as I was about 10 minutes ago.
I don't have a problem necessarily if he's 22 years old. I knew about that. All of that information came out earlier today. I was fine with that, but I already didn't want to take him at 10. I wanted to get him later, and I know maybe you can't get him. Maybe we would have missed out on him if we would have waited for a later pick, but we would have gotten somebody else at 10, and then still would have been able to either get Thon Maker or somebody else if we traded back in. I just, I'm optimistic about Thon Maker, and that's our pick, and I was already interested in him, so I'm going to get behind him, and I love his skill set.
I'm going to have to watch more YouTube videos. I think.
There's good YouTube videos. There's also a number of great articles. In retrospect, I didn't know about his age thing. I didn't read this article yet, but there's one with the headline, "The Curious Case of Thon Maker," and now I'm worried he's aging in reverse.
I mean, he looks young. I mean, you look at his face, but I don't know.
This will be interesting to say the least. I'm always a wait and see kind of guy. He's a buck at this point. There's literally nothing we can do to change that. So I think we all agree here. We hope he succeeds. You know, that's all. That's where I'm at.
Well, there's a lot more draft left, but I think we're gonna shut it down here for the Buck Life podcast.
Yeah. I think we've kind of talked ourselves out. The Bucks might move back into the first round, but
if
I don't
they do, maybe we'll fire it back up.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to sit here for a few hours just in case the Bucks do. Yeah, I'll leave the laptop on. If the Bucks trade back up, we will come right back live.
Hop back on. We'll be back.
And worst case scenario, I think we'll probably record something in the coming week or so just to kind of recap.
We'll get
Hopefully
a more
we'll get
traditional podcast episode in the very near future.
Got free agency July 1st is when negotiations can start during the July moratorium, and then also we've got Summer League coming up. Our first look at Thon Maker.
So yeah, there'll be a lot more to talk about. It's
46-year-old Thon Maker.
To this point, it has been a very slow off season. Also, in addition to that, I was going to mention at the start of the show, but this is the first official episode of season 2 of Buck Life. Thanks for everyone listening to, I think we put out 19 or 20 episodes in the first season. We started this, it was a little later in the season, but it was probably during Summer League that we started last year. We didn't have a draft show, but we've been going on this almost a year, and this is the start of season 2. So hopefully we're seeing you quite a bit, and maybe a more exciting season than last year.
And I don't know if Chuck still adds bumper music on the end because it's a live podcast, but if he does, I think we got to go with "Let Me See That Thon."
I do not, but we can add that as an intro to the next song. Next podcast we can do. On the live episodes, we just kind of let them be as is. So thanks for joining us today. We were live from Major Goulsby's. We want to thank them for hosting us. They got a pretty good burger. It was my first time having it. And,
great Bucks pint glasses.
They got the nice Bucks pint glasses here. So we will definitely, if the Bucks trade back up, we will be right back. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the draft, and we'll see you soon.